provisionally approving the revenue line item in the budget, the school department budget, the fire department budget, the Prudence Island Volunteer Fire Department budget, which is first on the list this evening. We did police department, which consisted of the police department proper, Prudence Island Special Services, animal control officer, and the harbor master. And we also did DPW, which included the roads and also salt for the plowing in the winter. So tonight we are going to pick up at the library for our civic support items, which can be found on page 57, 58, 53.
53.
Okay, so we're going to be here for a couple of minutes. We have state aid to the library, which is a simple pass-through for $114,736. We have Portsmouth support for the library at $504,900. These are all the different civic support items. We have the Portsmouth Historical Society level funded at $7,000. We have the Portsmouth Senior Center level funded at $80,000. The Senior Citizens Bus for $2,000. And the Substance Abuse Task Force level funded at $31,696. The grand total for all of that I just mentioned is $740,332. Any comments, questions from the council? Additions, subtractions, and if you would like to come up and make a comment on any of these, please come to the podium and just let us know your name. You don't have to raise your hand, you just wander up.
My name is David Miller. I live at 54 Pheasant Drive in Portsmouth. I'm the Vice President of the Board of Trustees of Portsmouth Free Public Library. I'm standing in this evening for Mike Mello, who couldn't be here. He's our president, of long-standing, much more adept at addressing the financial situation of the library. I would like to thank the council and the town administrator for their previous strong support for the Portsmouth Free Public Library. As you know, the library is not a town department, but we depend heavily on the town for the bulk of our finances each year. And I don't have to tell you the value of the library, that's self-evident. We have the library director here, Carolyn Magnus, if you have any questions about that. But one statistic I'd like to mention that stands out is that we have over 6,000 people every month coming through the front door of the library and using the facility. So very heavily used. Our budget request this year was $514,998 from the town, and our total expenditures were expected to be about $701,845, which they still will be. We'll probably still have to expend that. Unique, perhaps, among the libraries in Newport County, about $65,000 of those expenditures comes from our own fundraising, the reduction in the endowment, and other such sources. So that's a significant portion that the library itself contributes to its own operation. 2 points I'd like to make about the Portsmouth Free Public Library is that it is by far the lowest cost library operation in Newport County. Our per capita cost in 2017 was about $39 per capita. That's not only the town expenditure, but the total expenditures. That compares, for example, with $55 in Middletown and $107 per capita in Newport. So we are a very lean, mean operation. And secondly, as an independent agency, we're self-reliant for our capital expenditures. For example, you may have noticed if you've been by the library lately, we're having a new leach field dug because our septic system failed. Our physical plant, at least the main part of it, is 120 years old. We have a lot of things go wrong with the library building, and since we're not a town department, we can't draw on the town's rainy day fund in order to expend anything that comes up, any kind of emergency or capital improvement that we should need, or major equipment expenses. We draw down, and have been for some time, drawing down on our small endowment, our rainy day fund for our everyday expenses. This year, we have a plan to expend up to $50,000 from our own contingency fund. So to the extent that we expend that, we're unable to budget for any capital improvements or emergencies should happen. So I would like to ask that the town council consider our original budget request of $514,998, and also point out that when the town's portion of the library's budget is reduced, the state portion of aid also goes down. So we'll be suffering a hit of something like $24,000 from our original request. The trustees will be forced with a difficult choice to either reduce the services that we provide, reduce hours, or draw more money from our endowment in order to fund that shortfall. That's all, unless you have questions.
Just one intriguing question. Why 998?
Why 998?
$514,998.
That's just the way our budget. We're very, as you know, since you've seen our budget, we're very meticulous in all the line items.
Okay.
Everything's spelled out carefully, and that's just what it came up to.
Lucky for me, I get to sit in the middle seat and break bad news. As we've mentioned a few times last night, it's a very, very tight budget. I have two requests in front of me that came through from last night, one for $17,000 and one for $20,000, and yours is $10,100. I'm going to round up. So as we continue to go through the budget, if we can find areas to move money, I have you on the list. I will not forget as we go through it. And I'm trying to remember. Those are the only two that I can remember from last night, right? The 17 and the 20?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Right. So, absolutely.
So the state library aid, that's $114,736, that's going to go down by
Yes.
$204,000 if you don't get the $10,000.
That's correct. That goes down. That's based on a percentage of what the town contributes. It's supposed to be 25%, but it actually has worked out, I think, in the 2017 budget to be 17%. So that'll go down. The less money the town gives us, the less money the state gives us.
Is there a state statute that says it's supposed to be 25% and the General Assembly is just not providing that?
I don't know if it's a statute or not.
Okay. It is a law.
Oh, it is a law, but they don't
So
give
the General
us that.
Assembly is breaking the law by not giving you the 25%. Why does that not surprise me? Okay.
Wait a minute.
We will,
So where did this figure come from, the 114,736?
That was based on your, I believe, based on your proposed budget.
The 504,900?
Yes.
So that's not going to go down then?
It won't go down, but it will go down from what we had assumed would be the state contribution, which was based on our request of $514,998.
Okay, but
So
the
we based our budget
114
on that.
you'll get the 114 with the 504?
Yes,
Okay.
that's
thank you.
correct.
I was not clear about that, sorry.
Right.
Mr. Aguirre.
The 114 is not the 25% match. You're saying that's the 17?
Correct.
So if we could get you your 25% match,
We'd be better off.
you'd be up around the 126.
Yeah. Thank you.
I have one more question, as I always do. The added challenge you have in your budget, is there a way that you make residents realize that there's shortfalls that they can contribute? Is there a website they go to, you can go to at the library and realize what is on your wish
You
list?
mean from the general population?
Yeah, for the general population?
Yes, we go out with a fundraising letter every year.
Yeah, but that's not what I'm saying. I'm not just asking for general,
Yeah.
you need a rocket ship. Is there a website that I can go buy you a rocket ship?
No.
I think that would bring you some money if, in fact, you could, as you do meticulously, take care of your budget and get down to $514,908. If you could articulate your need down to specific items, I don't think I want to buy a rocket ship for you, but if the public knew what you were looking for, I think this extra $14,000, if we don't come up, or $10,000, if we don't come up with it, is a way to fund that.
Good suggestion. Thank you.
Be looking forward to seeing what you do with that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mrs. Gump, how are you?
Janice Gump, 37 Aquidneck Avenue, and I'm a trustee also. And I just wanted to point out, I'm not going to talk about anything so much financial, but in terms of social kinds of stuff. I mean, I think we have to face it that the library and Clements are the center of town, really. And both have a lot of people going in and going out. Who else has free programs every week? Who else will give advice in terms of computers? Who else will be working with teenagers weekly and carrying book clubs for adults and teenagers? And in terms of children, who else is doing programs for children outside of the school? And with the teenagers, it's outside of the school. So we also have the social events, which of course we charge for one of them anyway, the Taste of Portsmouth. But that is well attended, especially during election year. And who has Santa in town? Us. We pay for all that stuff, you know? Well, we don't have to pay Santa, right? We have to pay for the cookies. And we also have Touch-a-Truck, which is a lot of work in terms of getting all these different kinds of trucks there and manipulating the whole thing, and that's for little kids. Who rents a room, a fairly big room, at the library for different clubs and organizations? And I know for the garden club, it's $30 for 2 hours, and that's pretty cheap. So anyway, I just wanted to point out some of the important things besides the books and the computers that the library does. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Gump. So my rough math here is that if the town appropriation was $514,998, then the state's 25% should be $128,749. I'll round that up to $750. And the state aid, based on the 504,900, should be $126,225. So my math is that you're at 22%, 22.5%, something like that, with the 114. So we will absolutely reach out to our state legislatures and find out why we're being shorted that 3%, which is a good amount of money. And then, like I said, I have a list of placeholders here to find out why, find out if we have money at the end of the night, where we can slide that around from. Mr. Katzman.
Mr. President, members of council, Len Katzman, 162 Spring Hill Road. Unfortunately, the state law is not quite as clean as just saying 25%. It's a formula of 25%, but they don't have to pay more than, and then it's some calculation based on the amount of the library's endowment. So in some sense, the state hurts towns that have well-managed endowments. But that's, so that might be your answer, just so you know.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Are there any other questions on the other line items here in the civic support budget? Historical Society, Senior Center, the buses at Senior Center, Newport County Mental Health Center, the Prudence Island Conservatory, which we haven't funded in multiple years, and the Substance Abuse Task Force, which we have raised over the past few years because of our ongoing concerns of substance abuse here in town.
I'm sorry to see the support we gave to the mental health center. disappear this year, but having gone through the budget, we're slashing everything. I can understand why we're cutting that as well. I think it's unfortunate, but the budget seems to demand it.
Can we add that to the list and see if something happens?
This is getting mighty long.
It's getting longer, but you never know.
Ms. Fujifusa.
I disagree on that point. I believe that it's really important to have the donation to the mental health center continued this year, because if you look at the way the taxes work, every $10,000 that we add to the budget actually adds only approximately $1 per average home in town, and it's certainly worth. They're asking a mere 1/3 of that, so they're asking about 33 cents from the average home to support that $3,000 donation to the Newport Mental Health Center, and they serve many, many Portsmouth residents. I believe we just received a letter today from the chair, Jamie Lehane, so I would argue that we can certainly afford to put the $3,000 back in.
Yes, sir.
Corey Mendes of JKS Technologies. My company provides support and consulting services for the town. I'd like to offer my personal pro bono support to the library for any consulting services that they would look for. I think Mr. Kessen's idea is a great one for any type of GoFundMe or online support.
I wouldn't do a GoFundMe, but if they were going to do a computer replacement,
Yep.
People would maybe buy a computer.
Happy to speak with them about what options that they might have.
I have no idea what their capital needs and how small they are, but if it is computers and printers that they wanted, you could probably get people to buy that. Or as not, and you can figure out that can be $10,000 at the end of the year.
Sure.
Especially for IT.
And there's a lot of avenues that they can take advantage of for donations and crowdfunding. So I'd be happy to help them with that.
One simple thing, I don't see an area on the website for the library that has a donation button.
Yeah, just a donation button, that's what I was thinking.
You know,
Thank you so
whether-
much for volunteering.
And perhaps we can, I don't know if any companies have surplus equipment that they may be willing to donate to the library as well. Thank you, Corey. I have added that to the list, Ms. Fujifusa, for the $3,000. That makes our running total now $50,100. $50,998. $98. Can I have Ms. Pedro?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to provisionally approve the 740-332
Second.
for civic support. But I have to say something about the Newport County Mental Health. I think they do great work. But I think that there are so many organizations that do great work, and this council absolutely cannot pick one of the several organizations on this island because we can't discriminate. We have visiting nurses, the Maha Center, the Martin Luther King Center, the Women's Resource Center, Child and Family Services, Siemens Institute, East Bay Collaborative. There are so many. How can we pick one? This is why we eliminated doing that, because it's inappropriate to just pick one out of all the organizations on this island. I mean, if we fund one, then we have to start funding all of them. I mean, I just named 7, and including this one, that's 8, and they're all equally important. Unless we give $3K to every one of them, times 8, which is $24K, and I think Mr. Rayner's head would explode if we did that. I can't do that. I think we have to keep our focus on the senior center and the library. They're the 2 organizations in town that really need our help. And those organizations don't get funded through insurance like the other organizations, like a lot of the other organizations do. We're almost at 4%, and we haven't been there in a long time. So anyway, that's how I feel about that. Thank you.
Mr. Kessler?
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I'd like to mimic a lot of the words that Ms. Pedro said. This is these two organizations, the library, senior center, they service the town every day. I've gotten multiple letters from I guess supporters of Aquidneck Island Planning Commission, asking me for that funding. And again, along the same lines that Ms. Pedro just said, there's only so much money to go around. After leaving last night's meeting and waking up at about 4 o'clock this morning, and again, I think I said to somebody else, like I slept in a dryer looking out the window. Thanks to what we have in the town, we are at the cap. Whether it's, I think what woke me up was when Mr. Fitzmaurice stood at the podium and said, you know, you're only, was it 7% off the cap, $250,000. And again, if we put the roads program back in, we're at the cap. We're at the cap. We're at the cap with supporting the schools the way they are. And two gentlemen stood up in front of us last night and said, and we need more money. Well, guess what? We're all at the max. We're at the max on the cap. We can't even, it's not like we could have a fund balance to take care of the roads. We're taking $200,000 out of the roads program. We're there. And that's the reality. I'm very uncomfortable with this budget. I'm crazy. I put together a spreadsheet, and it mounts up all the red and the greens and how comfortable I feel with the budgets the way they're going. Right now, I got more red than green. I'm not sure we got an executable budget. I'm trying to sit here tonight and through the last night and find out if this budget is truly executable. I think one serious problem, we're not gonna make this budget. I think that's the reality. We're at the cap. We're not there today because we had the ability to wind down our roads program, take $200,000 out of the roads program. That's against every bone in my body. We've done that before. That's an ugly place to be. And that's the reality where we are today. And I think that that's a major milestone. We're at the cap, and we're believing we're not. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
You're welcome, Scott. Suji Fusa?
I'd just like to respond to the road paving issue. I think it's very easy for some people to say that we absolutely have to fund roads because most of us drive up and down East and West Main Road, and that is something that feels like we might be defunding if we take away from our road paving budget. But you all have to remember, East and West Main Road are state roads. And this budget, this road paving budget we're talking about is not for East and West Main Road. So what that does leave us with is the fact that the road paving program that Mr. Kessin is referring to currently puts us at 73.42 according to the road paving diagram that Mr. Rayner presented to us, and that is a satisfactory level of paving, and that the satisfactory number runs from 71 to 85. And even if we put 1.3 million into the town roads for the next 5 years, we would not move to good, which starts at 86 because we're in New England. And so I believe that the road paving might be an easy campaign issue for people to say, I want to support road paving, and I don't want to bring down the amount in the budget, we want to crank it up, but I think the right thing to do would be to bring down the current 600,000 and give us an extra 100,000 for a lot of the needs of this town. So I completely disagree that the road paving budget has to be raised and bring us closer to the cap, and in fact, I believe it has to be lowered.
Mr. Roberts.
Peter Roberts, 80 Armard Avenue. Now, we all understand that East Main Road and West Main Road are state roads. But I go to my driveway on Mason Ave, and I go to the front of my house on Armard Ave. There are nothing but holes in that road. And this budget isn't taking care of our roads. There have been roads done that there's only about 5 houses on. There's 20-some on these roads, okay? So talking about the state roads and everything has nothing to do with this. We are not fixing our roads. I don't think you understand that. Now, maybe where you live, the roads are wonderful, but not where I live. Thank you.
What I'm looking at, Mr. President, is the road paving condition that is chart that's been developed. It's based on facts, not just, and it's based on analyses that give us actual numbers and ratings for the roads.
Ready to vote, Mr. President?
Motion on the table is to provisionally approve the civic support line item at $740,332. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. We will continue down the list of the agenda right now until we get to the bottom and figure out where we can go from there. The town council budget has been cut 34.32% and is now sitting at $11,866.
Page?
I'm sorry. 26, thank you. We are going to go in order now, pretty much through the budget for a little while, so we don't have to jump around quite as much.
Do you promise?
Well, until we get to public safety again. Not a lot of, nothing too sexy in this budget. Anybody want to provisionally approve the town council budget, $11,866?
I'll make a motion to approve that at $11,866, and I would like to ask a question after a second.
Liz?
Okay.
Typically, we had a $6,200 or plus up on this budget to $7,500. Can anybody explain to me where that contingency went other than to the prom prior to this?
There were various things that you funded over the years. One was the extension of the softball field for down in the Glen. That's the most recent one that I can remember. And then, of course, the Portsmouth High School prom, which now has to be a regular one. So
which now has its own line item.
Yeah, I created a regular line item because they come every year and you ask for it.
And it's a worthy cause every year.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President.
Any other questions on the town council budget? The motion is to provisionally approve at $11,866. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next up, we are on to Mr. Rayner's budget, town administrator budget, which is set at $278,900, which is relatively flat. It's a drop of 0.38%. Any questions on the town administrator budget?
Got one question on that, Mr. President. The 4,800 that's in the car allowance, is that a contract number?
Yes. That's per the
Thank you.
new contract. Ms. Ujjifusa?
I just want to point out, and I asked Mr. Rayner about this, you'll notice that there's a 2% change in his proposed salary, and actually contractually, he's allowed to go up to 2.5%, and I just want to make note of the fact that Mr. Rayner has voluntarily reduced his own salary by 0.5%, and I applaud his taking that sacrifice, and explains why he generates so much loyalty among the staff.
Is there a motion to provisionally set the town administrator budget at $278,900?
So moved.
Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next up, we are on to Ms. West's budget of the town clerk, which is a 19% decrease year over year at $308,401. Major drivers in that decrease are benefit-related, health insurance and taxes, and also a half a clerk less or a full clerk less.
I would think it'd be a full
Delay
clerk.
hiring of a clerk, and then there's a number of items throughout a number of departments that are going to be reallocated to the Human Resources Department, dues, reference materials, so on and so forth.
And the only major increase I see is a bump in land evidence to continue to, what, digitize that? Is that what we're doing?
We are scanning and recording. Part of that is, that money is mandatory for just land evidence.
Do I have a motion to provisionally set the town clerk's budget at $308,401?
So moved at
Second.
308,401.
308,401, yes, sir. Any other discussion or questions?
Yes, I have one more question.
Yes, sir.
What is the total reduction on that, for that salary position?
Well, there's a 27.22% drop.
Yeah, I know, I want a dollar amount.
I don't remember the starting salary on a new clerk.
Is it $72,238?
No, it's a...
Or is it 83,380,
From adopted last year, it's $40,000 difference, roughly.
including benefits?
With the benefits,
Well, the benefits are...
I thought it was 39,482 on the salary, and then 42,2 on the,
it's 37 on the health and dental, which, I'm using round numbers here, so bear with me. Sorry, 35 on the health and dental. And 3 on the pension, and, yeah, so it's about 77 total.
Actually, the pension would be about 4,800. The 401, the salary is about a $48,000 salary.
salary was what?
48,000.
That's what I had it at. I had actually had it at 39,482. And the benefits are what?
Well, depends if you hire a married person with kids or if you hire a single person.
About 8,500.
I just want to know what we're backing out of this budget.
10 grand.
About 8,500 for a single. 8,500 for a single
8,500 for a single.
individual, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Any other questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Canvassing office always goes up during an election year. This year we have an increase of 25%, rounding up, it's 24.98, for a budget of $230,928. Again, major budget drivers are the fact we have an election year, so we hire election people to monitor the elections, and temporary assistance goes up.
So I get that, some of that, Mr. President. But 16 was an election, and that also included an election year, and we went from 190,424 to 230,928. And for some reason,
This is always an issue. Fiscal and calendar years are completely different. And when I do the budgets, I do explain that. Fiscal year 2016 had elections in it. Fiscal year, let me see. Fiscal year 2017 had 2 elections. Fiscal year 2018 had no scheduled elections, and fiscal year 2019 has 2 elections in it. Because the cycle runs from July to June, I'll have a presidential preference primary in the fiscal year 2020, but my actual elections will be in budgetary year 2021, and that's how it works. Here, it's fiscal year 2019. That will include the not the presidential, but the statewide primary in September and the general election in November. Last year, fiscal year 2018, there were no scheduled elections.
So you got to kind of combine 16 and 17. Because they run into each
A
other.
portion of 16 goes into 17.
And then it depends on how many primaries you have as well, right?
Right, and it got really complicated. Fiscal year 2015, I had the 2014 elections in that. Fiscal year 2016, I actually had special elections. I had a special election in December of 2015. I had an election another special election January 2016, and I also had the presidential preference primary in 2016. So that year, I actually had 3 elections.
Understood. And thank you for the clarification.
One area, what are we renting now? We rent just St. Barnabas?
No, actually, we give stipends to
Good.
St. Barnabas
Okay.
and to the Prudence Island.
Okay,
We rent the Common Fence Point,
not anymore.
Not anymore.
I understand that, but that was not done. As you see, I do have portions for polling sites too. For example, I will have to find another place for Common Fence Point for this year anyway, so that's why rentals are still included in this budgetary
Oh,
cycle.
good. So next year, is this going to run into the year after that, 2020?
Well, fiscal year 2019 is going to cover the election through November of 2018. Then when I work the next budgetary cycle, which will be fiscal year 2020, it's going to include a presidential preference primary that will be
Okay.
held in April of 2020.
All right.
So,
So we can look for this again next year?
from now on, I will make sure that those
A no would
are
help
clear.
tremendously to us old people with white hair.
It can be very confusing, so, but fiscal versus calendar. Any other questions?
One question.
Mr. Gleason?
The pay increases are, the clerk is at a step increase.
It's a step.
It's a step.
It's the first full year of a step increase.
She had been at step 1 for 2 years. Well-deserved.
Thank you.
Is that C to B or B to C, whichever one it is?
No, it's...
Just a step.
It's 1 to 2.
Okay. So is there a motion to provisionally set the town canvassing office at $230,928?
So moved.
Second.
Any further questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Now we come to the next big one.
Finance?
Hey, at least we have it this year. Last year, we didn't have a finance department. All right, so the finance department, we have a decrease in the salary and benefits of about 12%. And then operations budget is flat at $457,776 for an overall decrease of 9.27%. For a total budget of $780,667. Looks like the major drivers here are the, again, benefits going down, salary line going down for our new finance director.
So are we removing somebody from this department too?
Shifting
Shifting,
to HR.
The Kathy, who is the payroll clerk, will go from finance to HR because she is, that position has always been dual-headed.
That handles what, mostly the benefit questions for employees?
so that's why this is showing a decrease and HR is showing an
You'll
increase.
show an increase in HR.
Okay, so that's what happened.
Any other questions on the finance department budget?
So the way it worked before, one more question.
Sure,
Thank you, Mr.
absolutely.
President. Sorry about that one.
No worries.
So we had a clerk that used to we get to part-time HR, and now we have an HR person, and we're going to fill it with a clerk when we
The
finally get
clerk is
this.
still doing the same function. She's still doing...
Well, the other
payroll
clerk
and
did HR, correct? The
We had-
lady that retired.
Well,
There used to be
Jeannie-
two clerks.
yeah, Jeannie would do-
Yeah, Jean and Tracy. Tracy was the payroll clerk, but also assisted HR. You had a benefits clerk, who was Jean. Okay, Jean is retired, We did not fill that position. We hired an HR director that takes care of both town and school.
Okay.
Any other questions on the finance department? If none, do we have a motion to provisionally approve at $780,667?
One more question, Mr. President.
That was too far away. Mr. Kessler, go ahead.
May I ask the name of the clerk that's sending out the letters to the retirees about making payments, their health insurance payments for the schools? Because there's a letter that's circulating in town where people are asking to send their benefits checks in for the retirees.
It's on the school site.
I can get you that information tomorrow if Anna doesn't know it off the top of her head, but that would be one of the...
So you have an HR clerk, but we can't share that with the town?
I don't think that would be too much of a workload. I would say our person is older.
I'm just trying to understand what's going on, because I had somebody tell me that we already had an HR clerk.
We did have an HR clerk. We no longer have an HR clerk.
Somebody's getting letters, and it wasn't from Lisa.
It wasn't from Lisa. That's on the school side, so the clerk that's on the school side has sent those letters.
So we haven't totally shared this department.
It's an 80-20 split.
Thank you very much.
Are they sure it's a town letter and not a union letter?
It's a town letter.
Okay. Motion is to provisionally approve the finance department budget at $780,667. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next up, we have HR.
No, it's IT, isn't it?
Oh, sorry. Well, on the agenda, it's HR, but since the next page down is IT, we'll jump around a little bit. That's okay. We can be flexible. The information technology budget has a sizable increase this year because of new equipment and software and licenses for upgrading. Do you want to specify specifically what equipment we're replacing with that $25,500?
I'd like to turn that over to the police chief and Corey. Corey, is he still here? Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's a number of things that have to happen with respect to the new police station. There's cabling, server racks, and speakers, camera systems that were not in the original building documents that were approved by the building committee. Okay. But we do have to install those things in the new police station, some of it for accreditation, some of it by law. So this will cover those expenses in the new police station.
Okay.
In order to transfer the services from the old police station to the new police station, I believe this equipment here is the back-end room of the police station equipment, Corey?
Yes.
And that's what the equipment we need. We have to keep these operations running. Public safety for the whole town, your police and fire. We can't just shut this off and flip a switch, or no one's going to get the police or fire.
Correct. So this is another surprise to me that we are buying equipment for the police station out of a different budget, and it's not part of the 10 million. But more than that, I'm getting really scary that we're moving more money over than I think. This equipment you're using is going to have failover in it, and the other one doesn't?
The primary concern here is we're going from a one-level building to a three-level building. So the equipment purchases that we have here are to simply make the building viable for anything to plug in. We've reconciled all of the existing equipment, and we're moving everything that's existing over to the new building. There are very limited new purchases that are actually happening here. It's just to make, when someone plugs in a computer or a printer, that printer or computer actually connects to something. That's what these costs are. In terms of like new computers, there are no new computers. Computers are moving over. All existing equipment is moving over. There are no new printers, no new computers. Nothing else is new except to make all 3 floors operational. That's really what we're facing here.
So basically, you're saying this is wiring?
No, switches that make, all the jacks in the walls, run.
Well, it's part of wiring a building.
Yes.
It's part of
There's multiple, just to explain, that there's multiple vendors. Corey's our coordinator. He's not a town employee, he works for a company.
Right.
We have to have someone overseeing this work for these multiple vendors. We have Motorola coming in. Our communications are in 2 different, we have one for the police, one for the fire, 2 radio systems that manage there.
And we're combining them.
Yes, and it's a ton of moving parts with all these different vendors. Somebody has to quarterback that, and it can't be myself or Chief Cranston. We need a person that can do that work.
That's actually really good.
That's what Corey actually does, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm consulting on the movement of all these pieces. In terms of cabling, that's under the general budget for the project for, electrical contracting.
So it's basically for you to oversee that everything gets there right, gets wired up right?
Yes, and the costs that we're accumulating here are for equipment that is the most critical pieces. We're not adding on any additional fluff here, like additional computers, et cetera. There are going to be a lot of empty seats in this new building, and this is just to make things operational.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate that. Unless anybody else has any further questions? Do I have a motion to provisionally set the IT budget at $161,000?
So moved.
Second. Any further questions?
Mr. President, I can't support this because I don't understand right now what I've bought for a police station. Maybe we need a council meeting where we start to find out what we really bought for a police station.
In the original documents, there were line items that said owner supply.
Understood. But that doesn't say that the funding doesn't come from the $10 million. So I'm not going to support this line item.
Just so we're on the record.
Till I get some clarification of.
That $10 million figure came from a document that was prepared 2013-14, where those line items that said owner supplied or were zeroed out. So that $10 million did pay for the police station as it was designed, as it was envisioned in those documents. It was always intended that we were going to put in our furniture, we were going to take care of some of the IT needs. So that was never put in the $10 million because the building document stated $10 million for what was approved.
Right. When I went into the voting booth and I closed the curtains, I thought we were going to be soup to nuts for $10 million. If it was $8 million for the building, and $2 million for the Christmas ornaments, then I thought we were all going to be done for $10 million. And I guess I didn't understand when I walked in my booth what I was voting for. So anyways, I stand my position. I'm ready to vote, Mr. President.
Okay. Anybody else? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 6-1. Now we'll hit human resources, I think.
Yes.
All right. Just throwing curveballs at me. All right. So with the addition of the movement of the clerk from the finance to the HR budget, we have a sizable increase here, which is 72%, but that is because we have one large salary moving in plus the benefits. The rest of the HR budget, the operational side of things, which includes processing for payroll, all of our different dues that we pay for, professional services, training, OPEB, which is the biggest number in there of $1.141 million, pensions, workers' comp insurance, and our retirement contingency, which we have bumped from this year of $40,000 up to $190,000. For those who aren't aware, the retirement contingency is for people who may retire from the police, fire, and are owed back sick days or vacation days that they haven't utilized per the collectively bargained agreement with the unions. So the total budget for the finance department comes in at $2,436,075, which is an overall increase of 30%. Anybody have questions on any of the line items I didn't hit there?
I guess I have one question, Mr. President.
Mr. Kessin.
Thank you very much. The OPEB cost and the increase this year of $258,174, is there a projection for 2020? Because that number almost sounds like my road bond that I just quoted. My road repairs.
We don't have it available with us right now. We can certainly get that to you first thing tomorrow.
Because if it's the same, if it is the exact same number for next year that we have today, we're over the cap, right? Because we only have $250,000.
Well, that's if we put everything back in the budget. So if we go through
Well,
things...
I understand. If we cut the road program a little more, because there's a little bit more to give,
Well, if we
can do that.
don't need the $25,000 that are extra for the police station upgrades this year, if we don't have... There's a number of different things that are one-time purchases this year that can be moved to other areas of the budget. It's not quite as simple as if this goes up another $250, we're at 4%.
Right, and in this current year, Mr. President, in the last, like I said last night, in this last monthly statement, we had $10,000 worth of televisions and Wi-Fi Ethernet switches. So the $21,000 that we see in this budget already has $10,000 already spent in this year's budget. So, we're up $30,000 over. It's just growing, and I'm just getting more confused. I have one more question.
Sure.
The retirement contingency, can somebody give me a body count on what we think that number is?
I have formal resignations from 2 people already for next year, but potentially there are 6 people who are eligible as a total
So there are 6 people eligible.
for retirement, but that does not include people who might just leave service who would still be eligible for a severance.
2 already. Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Questions? I have a motion to provisionally approve the HR budget at $2,436,075.
So moved.
Seconded.
Any further questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next up, we have the tax assessor.
34 green.
Hardest working tax assessor in the country. Total budget of $563,399, up 2.5%, which is essentially increases in salary lines. That was salary, not celery. Wow.
Motion to approve at $563,399.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that was provisionally approved.
Yeah.
Not 100%
I
approved.
forgot those words.
Yeah, well,
We're in a provisional mode anyways, right?
we are in a provisional mode, but officially we want to make it provisionally because otherwise Matt will never show back up again for one of these hearings. Legal, we have a 33% increase, primarily for Adjustments for any claims, up from 225 to 300,000 and $30.
Why is that?
Why is it the $30? I don't know.
No, the reserve
Is
for
it
the claims, is that your
85,000?
question, Ms. Pedro?
Yes.
Why do we have the reserve established for possible tax settlement?
Mr. Halpin, would you explain that? There is,
Without delving too deeply
Yeah.
into the facts of the case,
there's a
since it's still
case
being
against the
litigated.
town for revaluation, and Matt will tell you what.
Oh, all right. but
Currently, we
I just-
have, it's over 2 years, it's 5 tax appeals that are before the state Supreme Court, where, based on their legal interpretation, we'll win or lose.
So this is a contingency in case we lose.
Exactly.
How many years did you say this has been going?
Oh, this goes back to 2008 and 2009,
Oh, okay.
so it's just getting heard
It's now
now.
reached Superior Court.
Are you appearing in court?
I am not.
No.
It's, Mr. Gavin presented some excellent briefs, and
Okay.
There's, well, it's based off of what they're looking for in relief, so I'm sure this is a tight number with Matt. Right down to the $30, isn't it? So.
All right, never mind.
So the hope is that we win and we don't have to pay it out, but we are planning just in case we don't. I have a motion to approve the legal line item at $300,030 provisionally.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Oh, Ms. Pedro?
Well, I just had a question.
Okay.
Why do we have a new line for labor attorney, labor issues? That's not, all right, apparently it's not the same thing.
We broke that out. We have Mike Ursillo, who's our labor attorney.
Yeah.
And we're projecting that we're going right into this fall PMEA and fire negotiations.
Mhm.
And
So-
there's an addition, we have an arbitration case that will be arbitrated in July.
But last year, so you broke it out into two.
So the labor
Right,
issues pays
yeah.
for if we need an arbitrator or if
Got
we
it.
need to get professional
Got it.
professional advice from like a symmetry or something
Okay.
like that.
Yeah, I see. So it's basically 60 again, you just broke it out.
That's
Okay,
correct.
sorry.
No worries. So that was a 7-0.
Yes.
Okay. Next up, we have the planning budget. Mr. Book, give us a moment because we have to skip all the way through the police, the fire, and everybody else. Thank you.
48.
How are you, Mr. Crosby?
I'm good, thank you.
I think the budget here is fairly self-explanatory. I would like to address the line item for the comprehensive plan. Back last year, when we were crafting the budget for last year, we estimated that it would take approximately $90,000 worth of consulting services to get us to the end of the comprehensive planning process and get a plan approved by statewide planning and adopted by the town council. Our intention was to apply for $45,000 last year to be spent in this fiscal year and to ask for an additional $45,000 in this budget to be spent in the next fiscal year for reasons that we all are beginning to understand over the last couple of nights. That $45,000 in this budget It started out in the first of Mr. Rayner's 19 iterations for this budget. It started out at $45,000. It dropped to, after 2 or 3 iterations, it dropped to 30, and then we dropped it to 20, and then we dropped it to $10,000 that you see here. We now know because of the purchasing process that we've been going through, that we now know that with a really high degree of certainty that we know a couple of things with a very high degree of certainty. One is that we can complete a draft a completed draft of the comprehensive plan by the September-October timeframe. We can conduct all of the public hearings, both in the planning board and the town council, that are necessary to get the plan approved. We can conduct a public workshop / charrette sometime midsummer as a public outreach component to the comprehensive plan. And we can get to the end of the process. We can get to a fully approved comprehensive plan, both by the town council and the statewide planning, for a total of $65,000. And so I'm here in consulting services. So I'm here to request, we have $45,000 from last year. We have $10,000 requested here. I'm here to request that be increased to $20,000 for a total of $65,000, which will get us to the end of the line. This will get us a comprehensive plan. As you remember, last night, Mr. Rayner said one of his, or night before, or no, it was last night, his original, in his rollout of the budget, that the comprehensive plan was one of 3 major projects that we wanted to complete, and so this will do it.
Mr. President, last night when we talked a little bit about the contingency that I put back in the budget, and Mr. Kessin is absolutely right, it was my intention to zero that out, and then we ran into some significant soil remediation problems at the construction site of the police station. Chief Lee and I spent the better part of the day working with the contractor and the design team. We have remedied that situation. The police contract is back on track and is the better part of $100,000 under budget. So what I would propose to get this comprehensive plan, this is one of my #1 priorities, over the finish line, that we would take $10,000 from that contingency and put it here and alter that line to $20,000. That would leave, obviously, $40,000 in the contingency, and then a few suggestions. I know that you're looking to spread some money. There's $40,000 that we can fund some of the other things that were discussed tonight.
Okay. So the $10,000 for the comp plan is officially on the list. So when we get down to the, unless anybody wants to make a motion to make that change now, and be specific with the movement of that $10,000 off of that contingency line into the planning budget to finish the comp plan. Ms. Bader?
I have a question.
Sure.
Can you go through that schedule again? You know you can complete the draft by September, October. Is that that's this year, 18?
Correct.
Then public hearings, when were you planning on public hearings?
Public hearings will take place soon after that, and then
Soon after that means November?
Perhaps, yes. Depends, what that depends upon a great deal is how quickly the statewide planning is able to make recommendations and comments on. Our intention is to have sort of a rolling preliminary approval process for them, so that the approval process at the very end, they say if they have examined and commented on the elements as they've been produced, that it cuts the time down for final approval considerably. So
Yeah, I don't know how you're going to do that, though, because a lot of the elements are to be determined. There's a lot of blanks and things like that.
that's correct. There's a lot of blanks, and that's exactly what the consultant is going to help us to do, is to fill those blanks in. But we will have a complete draft ready for statewide planning and ready for comment and ready for planning board comment and to begin the process of the planning board approvals in the September-October timeframe.
Okay, so then you said the public hearings are sometime after that, and then you said public outreach summer. What?
We're going to hold a charrette/public workshop about the comprehensive plan sometime.
This summer?
Yes, sometime midsummer.
So we're back, so, all right, because that's where I was confused, because you mentioned these kind of, and I'm going in order, so I'm thinking next summer.
Right,
But you're talking this summer?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
So that hopefully the goal here is that come December 31st, we have a brand-new comp plan.
Providing that the statewide planning does their job in a timely fashion, yes.
Anybody have further questions for Mr. Crosby on this, on the comp plan process?
I have two.
Sure.
How many have we put in front of the planning board elements?
We have, the 8th one is being put in front of the planning board tonight.
And how many have we had in front of statewide?
None.
So 2 elements have been approved by the planning board, correct?
They have provisionally approved 7. They have received comments and commented themselves on 7 of the elements so far. I don't think that there's any, the planning board is not saying this is what it's going to be until it gets all assembled. The planning board is saying, yeah, we like what's here so far. We like the comments. We've adjusted the comments so far. Let's move on. My job has always been to get something on paper for people to discuss. And so a lot of what we have put in front of the planning board has holes in it, as I freely admit. But what I have been concentrating on with all the way through the entire process is the goals, policies, and implementation items that accompany is the heart of each of these elements. And that's not something that a consultant can do easily. That's what a staff planner who is familiar with the town is going to be able to do. So I've worked my way through that, and the planning board and with citizen input has seen and sort of provisionally said, okay, let's move on for 7 of the elements so far. And so what is going to happen with the consultant is the consultant is going to come in and help us with with project management, first of all, to get a schedule together. That I'm going to do things, Mike's going to do things, they're going to write things. We're going to work our way through the process. They'll be going back to some of the first elements, fleshing them out, and getting them completely ready, and getting them up to statewide planning for initial comment. And then there'll be sort of this rolling process that will culminate with a final draft in the September-October timeframe.
I'm concerned about the public input. We've had minimal public input. I don't see how you can, I don't know, form these without the public input. And then you're going to give them, so basically you're going to form them and then give them to the public, whereas they should be formed with public opinion first, I think.
Okay.
Anyway, I guess we're kind of off topic.
I have one question,
Mr. Kessin.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. It's actually to Mr. Rayner. We have a recycling coordinator. Before we go any further, I haven't found that salary in any of these
Should be in
departments.
the enterprise fund.
You approved that in December when you approved the enterprise fund. It comes out of the enterprise fund.
I did, huh? Well, I guess I didn't know that either. All right.
So what is the council's pleasure? Would you like to move $10,000 out of the current contingency that was approved? Did we approve it?
You didn't approve that yet.
We haven't
That'll be
approved that
in the
yet.
summary.
So we can either approve it now, or we can hold off and change that line item.
I would like to wait and see, this is now the second alteration to this budget. It wasn't a surprise, I guess, but we had an added request for Prudence Island. We now have an added request for the planning board.
We've got the Library, Planning Board, Harbor Commission, Prudence Island, and Newport County.
Yeah,
Mental Health.
before I start committing any of the contingency, I'd like to see if there's any others.
Yeah, why don't we get through the whole thing, and then perhaps you can make a list and pass it out to us.
I've got my list.
Right,
I'm running out of room, but I have a list.
yeah.
Got mine.
5 items on it.
He's got a small piece of paper.
Okay.
He was more confident. He started with a smaller piece of paper.
I have to write big, too.
Mr. President, I would motion that we provisionally approve $323,669 for the planning department.
Point of order, Mr. President, isn't there a item in the agenda for the AIPC budget item to be discussed first?
Anybody can get up and discuss the planning budget.
Prior to approving this provisionally, I believe it's time for the Aquidneck Island Planning Commission to make a presentation. They're on the budget, and they are currently listed as not having the $18,000.
Why don't we do,
All right.
first and foremost, let's just, is there a second
Yeah.
of Mr. Kessin, Mr. Gleason's?
Well, I could give him a
Motion.
second for discussion only.
Whichever one you want. Ms. Pedro spoke up first, but. So, if anybody would like to speak to the Aquidneck Island planning line, Mr. Crosby, I don't know if you want to start, or if you,
No, I presume that you have no other questions about any
For the rest of your
other
items?
line items on the budget.
anybody else have?
I have one question. On the Island Waters grant, Mr. Crosby, have you ever received a report?
I'm sorry?
On the Island Waters grant, have we ever received a report?
Have you ever seen?
No, have you?
Yes.
I know I haven't.
Yes, I have.
Thank you.
So everybody is good with everything else in the budget for Mr. Crosby? Nothing else too earth-shattering in there that raises eyeballs?
Want to talk about building inspection, planning board, and economic development too, before you go any further, or not? Be happy to,
That's true, you've got that too, don't you? You're the only representative here for them?
correct.
Yeah.
They are in my department.
Mr. President, point of order, in the light of the, to show respect for the people in the audience who are here for the AIPC discussion.
We're discussing the planning budget and all the items underneath the planning department. So if anybody had questions for Mr. Crosby, we can do that. It's fine. It's only 8:15. We're still doing okay. And I have yet to see anybody from the AIPC stand up to make a... So... Anytime.
I didn't know you were ready for us.
Well, I know it's your first time, John, so
Yeah.
that's okay.
Thank you. I've been here
Welcome
3
aboard.
weeks, so give me a break.
Hey, you found a place. That's a start.
Not easily. We have a few slides. I don't know if we can get those up on the screen. And just to start, my name again is John Shea. I'm the very new executive director of the Aquidneck Island Planning Commission. I just started at the beginning of the month, so very pleased to be here. And I want to thank the entire council for giving us the opportunity to speak this evening. I'll be very brief, but I'm here to request the reinstatement of our $18,000 funding for the Aquidneck Island Planning Commission in the Portsmouth Town budget. I think that the return on investment that you receive from our operations is significant, and I know you have tough budget choices to make, but as we'll demonstrate, I hope, and as we go on in our remarks, this is the right decision for Portsmouth and its taxpayers. Next slide, please. Just to tell you a little bit about the AIPC, we're a 501c3 regional planning organization. We were founded in 1985 by the communities of Middletown, Portsmouth, and Newport to serve as a regional planning entity and also support those towns on communal work on various issues that were of importance to them. Our mission is to preserve and improve the economy and environment and quality of life on the island, and also to ensure that Aquidneck Island remains a absolutely wonderful place to live, work, and raise a family. So to that end, the 3 townships on the island support us with $18,000 for operational expenses per year. Next slide, please. It's very important to note that we have a board of 12 voting members for each, from each of the 3 constituencies, and the councils, you folks, appoint them, and here are your representatives, Keith, Sarah, Kate, and Leonard. And therefore, Portsmouth is ensured that their voice is heard in our operations, and also that their perspectives and priorities are represented in our work plan and in our priorities. I also want to say that, being new, I'm looking forward to working with all of you on the commission and citizens of Portsmouth on issues that are important to this town and to the entire island. I'm going to look at all our operations, make sure we're maximizing the benefits to Portsmouth and our other communities, and I really need your help on that, and I want to work closely with you and be as responsive as I can to you, so I hope we can do that. And so, really, being new, I would like to get a little bit more into the benefits that we bring to the communities and the return on investment that you get from the Aquidneck Island Planning Commission. And to do that, I'm going to pass it over to our program manager, Allison McNally, Allison McNally, to go into a little bit more detail on that. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Mr. President, councilors, and Mr. Rayner and staff for giving this opportunity to speak tonight. Not to read the slide, but to get to it, because I know you have a lot of significant budget items to consider. For its $18,000 annual investment in regional planning with the AIPC, what benefit does the town receive? And just to point to the top line item there, the AIPC was able to secure through a federal grant from the EPA $75,000 to assist the town in a pressing municipal priority, which was managing the discharge of sewage from stormwater pipes in Island Park and Portsmouth Park into the Cove and the Sakonnet River. This is an expense that taxpayers would have otherwise had to fund. We were able to get the federal grant monies. So that what that means is that for every dollar invested in AIPC, the town received $4 to address this long-standing regulatory compliance issue. This was a direct benefit to Portsmouth out of what was essentially a regional grant. We would continue to assist the town to secure additional dollars for this and other stormwater management needs well into the future, because that is the mission that this organization was founded to do. Oh, you're back up. Should go back.
Sorry.
That's all right. Wrong way. Anyway, to the next point on that slide. In 2017, we also secured, even though we asked for more money, we secured an additional almost $350,000 from the State Department of Environmental Management to assist us with our water quality and stormwater management work. This is in addition to the nearly $1 million that we secured from the EPA in 2016 for regional solutions across all 3 towns. $400,000 of that funding will be expended for green infrastructure improvements in Portsmouth's St. Mary's Pond watershed. That's a return of $22 for every dollar invested in AIPC, and that construction is slated to begin September of this year. And again, just to highlight the point that this was a regional solution. The EPA and the DEM awarded this money because these grant applications were developed with input from the towns, municipalities, Newport Utilities, and a number of our private nonprofit organizations here on the island who are vested in our environmental concerns. And just to prove that we're not about all stormwater all the time, other initiatives that we work on include transportation. So every year we work with the municipal planners across the island communities to come up with those regional applications, if you will, that we would submit to the state transportation improvement plan. This year's submission was, I think, $2.3 million. Again, we don't pull these out of the air. We work with the communities to develop these proposals, and they are reviewed. In fact, this year's submissions have been reviewed favorably because they were regional in origin, and they've also informed a new initiative at statewide level at the Department of Transportation and statewide planning for a long-range transportation plan and the inaugural statewide bicycle master plan. But overall, I would say with the 3 years that I've been with the Planning Commission, this is at least a return on investment for municipal dollars of at least 10 to 1. Now we go to the next slide. Thank you. What are our priorities for 2018? Funding for community priorities specifically. So we not only work, as John said, we not only work regionally across the island, but if a municipality has a specific need, certainly here to help you secure funding or address that in any way. Bring in expertise, however we can assist. And also in addition is our civic engagement and community outreach as part of our mission. An example of that is the Smart Island series of forums. The most recent one was the legislative forum that we hosted beginning of this month. And other local outreach activities and workshops, which we're going to have more frequently this year. Supporting a number of our informational sessions, so for the Island Waters Project, that type of civic engagement, informational sessions and presentations to the councils. In addition to that, for the next item, coastal resilience and storm preparedness. Probably this is something that all of us have not necessarily looked at 5 years ago. We would not necessarily have been so concerned about. But in fact, I came from a presentation today up in Pawtucket by the state officer, chief resiliency officer. We have a new position there, and the State Infrastructure Bank talking about the state blueprint for coastal resilience as we deal with increasing sea levels rise and with increasingly severe storms and weather events. And I think water quality and transportation I have addressed. If you could go to the next, thank you very much. And then I will just close with this slide, which is for 2016, we had our first independent audit at the AIPC. We've just concluded our second independent audit for fiscal year 2017. That audit is in the process of being certified, and as soon as it is certified, we will provide it to the municipalities. But we receive our annual funding from each of the 3 island municipalities, but we raise most of our operating and project funding from state, federal sources, and private grants and donations. And it's important for me to state that part of your funding that you generously provide to the organization, we also use in match when we write grants for these regional solutions. It demonstrates to a potential grantor that these municipalities are vested in these solutions across the island. I think in that regard, I'm just going to turn it back over to John. Do you have any closing remarks?
Sure. Thank you, Allison. I'll just close by thanking the council again for giving us the opportunity to address you and leave you with the key message that for the $18,000 that Portsmouth invests in the AIPC, and this is something Allison just iterated, you receive many times more in benefits that relieves pressures on your budget and also relieves pressures on your taxpayers. So we are a very positive investment that the town makes, and I hope you'll continue to do so. And I apologize for the fonts on the budget. That didn't turn out so well. But again, thank you very much, and Allison and I are happy to entertain any questions you have.
I'll have one question. Or maybe it's a statement. I'm not sure which way it's going to be. And I guess this comes to one to Allison, and I will probably lay this on a previous executive director. But where has that information been the past 3 or 4 years? Of explaining what you're doing, where the money's going. All we've heard about is the $75,000. Now, I personally understood that you were doing work with the Newport Water that would lead to better results for people in Portsmouth. That was a whole 7 minutes of a clear, concise presentation of what you're doing that we've been looking for 4 years, to be quite honest. And it's been like pulling teeth to get that kind of information out. And I do appreciate that 7 minutes. But it's taken 4 years to get that. And that's part of the reason that I'm not sure I can support $18,000, because history has a strange way of repeating itself. No reflection on you, John. We've just met and you've just taken over. As to whether or not that the AIPC as a whole can continue to produce those things in a transparent fashion to show us what you're doing. We've given $54,000 over the past 3 years, and that's the first time anybody's really come in and said, hey, this is what we're doing. And that's my concern. And that's just my personal opinion. If anybody else wants to chime in, please do.
Yeah, why don't I start to respond to that at least. As you mentioned, I'm obviously new, but I'm very committed to improving the communications with the towns. You know that, particularly, I know this goes back further, but over the last 5 or 6 months, we've been in transition as an organization. We haven't had an executive director since Tom left. We had, luckily, Allison to be our interim executive director. So we had a lot of personnel constraints, but we also recognize that, you know, we have a responsibility to do a better job of updating the town councils, and we haven't always done that, and that's one of the things I identified when I first came in, that that's something we need to improve. So, you know, we're not perfect, but as I said, I want to work with the council to make sure that we do a better job on this and other aspects that maybe we could be doing a better job on.
And if I can add to that, Keith, you know, with the personnel constraints that we have had, this is my first opportunity to address the council, and I look forward to doing that more in the future, and with great regularity, and hopefully to the point where you tell us to stop. You need a break.
Well, there's almost never too much information. Again, my concern is why this hasn't happened in the past. I mean, literally, like I said, it was give or take 7 minutes of concise information that made sense. But it took 3 years to get there. Not a reflection on you, Allison.
I'm going to treat that as a rhetorical question and statement, and we'll just leave it there.
Absolutely.
During the presentation tonight, you mentioned that there's a project, the water quality project, is going to construction this year?
Correct. And one of the things that we're in the process of scheduling our outreach and a lot of our meetings, one of many presentations to the council where we're outlay exactly. We have about 9 sites that the project team, and again, it was an interdisciplinary regional project team with a pretty solid list of criteria and engineering support and technical support. So we have about 9 sites that were targeted for construction. And we've been in the process working with our engineering firm at Fuss & O'Neill to do some preliminary feasibility and design work, and out of that go to construction bids, then inform the project back whether or not we can actually afford all of those sites again. So we sort of have this feedback mechanism in play. So hopefully I'll be before the council again within a reasonable period of time with our engineering team, and perhaps with some of the project team members, to explain the decisions that were made, give you the timeline, tell you, to cover some history for you, Keith, as to what's happened, how did it start, and what was the timeline to get us to this point in time, and what are the next steps to give you that roadmap of where we're going. So we're in year 2 of the actual funding for the project, and this is the year that construction would begin. And the funding from the EPA expires in September of 2019, and the funding for DEM probably pretty much goes in step with that. So our plan is to begin construction in August, September, have most of that construction completed. That gives us through the winter. Of course, it's difficult to perform the construction and have any fall over into the spring of 2019, and remediation of any of the construction sites, planting grass, putting in dirt, whatever needs to be done through the summer, and then complete that work by the close of the grant in September of 2019.
So you expect that there will be some construction projects occurring in Portsmouth this year? I think what would be helpful, just from our benefit, is as we go through the budget here, and right now, we don't have that $18,000 but in the budget, but I think what would be helpful is if we understood the value of this project that's going to occur in Portsmouth and what some of those benefits are. It's probably a project that maybe the town couldn't have done on their own, but I think it would be helpful to understand.
Sure, I'll give you a highlight right here and now.
Well, I don't need it here right here and right now, but I'd like to see the plans and all that.
Absolutely, happy to provide that to you, and happy to do a presentation another point in time. But it's essentially to manage stormwater into the island's drinking water supplies. We do have a regional water supply that all residents in all three communities draw on, and this is to manage stormwater runoff into those ponds that are used as reservoirs, and to prevent those cyanobacterial blooms that can be toxic to humans that have actually been documented in the past. And in fact, I think we had one or two blooms last summer, if I remember. Was that?
We certainly did.
Yeah, okay. So that's the 100,000-foot advertisement. But yes, no, happy to come back and give...
But I think that would be helpful for the council, just to understand where that $18,000 has gone to and what that value is back to the town, so that we, can fully understand, because as the president said, we haven't seen a lot over the last few years. We keep hearing about it, and so I think...
I know that reports were provided, but I'll speculate that, they were not necessarily perhaps in a form that was readily consumable and quickly consumable, because I recognize that everybody here is quite busy and overscheduled. So we'll improve on that with more in-person presentations.
And these projects this summer are mainly aimed at the runoff into St. Mary's Pond, not the Millville Ponds.
No, into St. Mary's Pond.
Yeah. Is there anticipation there'll be projects looking at the Millville Ponds down the road?
Potentially, these are, again, the event that I was at today, the state recognizes that every municipality is struggling with these issues of stormwater management and water quality. These are big dollar projects, so yes, we would be working to assist the municipalities in bringing in more money to address these problems. Yep.
Could you outline the kind of work you said that was required to be done by the town, that we would have had to have our taxpayers pay to do because we were legally required to do it, that AIPC was able to do for us and save our taxpayers money?
My understanding is that this is a problem that goes back a number of years, where the town received, forgive the official state speak, but a notice of violation about these illicit discharges into the Cove and into the Saconnet River. I also understand that the town was successful in negotiating a memorandum of agreement with the Department of Environmental Management, and I think a series of solutions were proposed, and one of the proposals that I believe the town, I'll defer to Gary's knowledge on this, was to do the illicit discharge and detection elimination studies. So that we started, because of the Island Waters grant that we received from the EPA, we were able to fund and begin that work in June of 2017, and I believe it was completed in late fall of 2017, and the report has just been completed and will be made available.
Do you know approximately how much that cost?
It was $75,000 was the budgeted line item. I haven't received the specific invoice yet for the balance of the work, but that's what we budgeted for it.
Mr. Crosby, what would it have cost us to do that work?
It cost, the total cost for the work that Fuss and O'Neill did as part of this was $57,000.
That's great, so that gives
They
you,
completed their work.
that gives us some extra money for any other need that you have related to it.
Now, I suppose I could flesh out a little bit of the history here. The purpose of what was written into the grant for Island Waters was a piece where they were developing technologies and alternative methodologies for doing illicit discharge detection, whether it's what sort of testing, water quality testing you do, or UV testing, and the types of sampling that can be done, and the methodologies, the where and how you sample and so forth, to be able to isolate sources of pollution in the stormwater system. The idea was that they would develop, as part of the Island Waters project, they would develop this shared technology that could be used regionally or nationally, if wherever. I stepped up and said, I've got a perfect case study in mind for you to be able to apply to the development of these methodologies. I have as part of the memorandum of agreement, a scope of work that has to be completed that we developed with DEM, approved by DEM as part of the MOA that we had to complete. So I suggested, here's a case study, you could take on this work, and it benefits the town because we stay in compliance with the MOA, the work gets done, and it benefits the grant because they can then take the results and the methodologies, what worked, what didn't work, and convert that into a report that can be shared technology. So it was a benefit to both the town and to the Island Waters grant.
Thank you, sir.
That work has been completed. There is another step that has to be done. The results have been published. The report has been done, but that report now, in the next couple of weeks, actually, we are going to be going up and meeting with DEM to get their approval and to look at the results and see if they can continue to improve on the methodology and suggest other ways of going about illicit discharge, and what we need to do based on what the town needs to do based on the results to go back out and isolate these sources. So that's the next step. So far, as I said, so far the project, I believe, has cost $57,000. Originally budgeted for $75,000.
Thank you, Mr. Crosby. Mr. Allett, you got a comment, question?
Mr. President, members of the council, my name is Chuck Allett. I am the executive director of the Aquidneck Land Trust. We are a partner with Aquidneck Island Planning Commission in Island Waters and a number of other projects, including the Green Infrastructure Coalition, the Newport Open Space Partnership. And I would just like to say that I don't envy you. I understand that you're trying to cram a lot into a cap that you've got to meet, and it's not an easy job to do. What I would say is I think it's easy to look at a budget and say regional planning should be cut out because we have so many other needs. And I just think that regional planning is becoming more and more important. Many of these issues that were discussed about tonight, the stormwater, the traffic, but even planning of parks and open spaces, many different things don't recognize political boundaries. And a lot of these problems, at least on a preliminary basis, AIPC plays an extremely important part in reaching out to the communities and talking about and problem solving some of these issues before obviously they come back before the council for ultimate decision. So I think that regional planning is an extremely important part of your budget. You have always supported it, and we as a partner feel we would be remiss if we didn't come before you and support the reinstatement of this into your budget. I think it sends a very bad message when a council turns it back on regional planning, and I would ask you not to do that here tonight. I think it's too important to this community and to this island that we respect regional planning and we move forward and support it. So I would ask you to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Mrs. Grebe.
AIPC, I'm sorry, Nancy Grebe, 110 Thayer Drive. AIPC is no longer a joint municipal planning organization or public body. It was ruled by the Attorney General to be a private organization. This was a final step in consolidating control over this organization by a major donor. In 4 years, the Portsmouth Town Council has appointed 10 residents to fill 4 AIPC board seats. Several of those appointees have resigned in less than a year. 2 of the Portsmouth appointees have had the courage to inform this council of the major problems that they saw at AIPC. AIPC recently lost its relatively new executive director in the middle of their and his largest project ever. This was their 3rd executive director since 2014. Tonight, we meet the 4th executive director, and his first introduction to Portsmouth is to ask for money. Does it take any more to understand that this organization is truly dysfunctional? Since 2011, AIPC has not properly executed a single project that has benefited the residents of Portsmouth. Councilors have asked several times for the results of the Island Waters IDDE efforts in Portsmouth. The council still has not received this report. AIPC was also required by their EPA grant to produce a report to the EPA 30 days after 1 year of their grant. That report was due September 30th, 2017, while they still had a full-time executive director. I made a Freedom of Information Act request for this report in December. It had not been done. It was delivered to me the beginning of February. The EPA had said they had just received it, over 4 months late. Last year, AIPC put out quarterly financial reports that did not add up properly. We are now almost into the 7th month of AIPC's new fiscal year, and the AIPC board has not provided this council with a single financial report. It is clear that AIPC's financial house is not in order. AIPC should not be given taxpayer money. I suggest that this council concentrate its efforts in finding the money for the volunteer fire department so the residents of Prudence Island have the same level of security that we on Aquidneck Island have. And I could say this exact thing for our wonderful library. If members of this council still feel that AIPC is a good investment, I challenge you to donate your own money to this private organization before you vote to give taxpayer money.
Thank you, Mrs. Grebe. Ben.
I'm Ben Farrell, 23 Gideon Log Lane. Ladies and gentlemen, the AIPC line item represents a highly efficient investment. As described by Allison and the new director, the aggregate of our funds, of our relatively small investment, is combined with funds from other municipalities, from government agencies, from other donations, and on projects that directly benefits Portsmouth and whose cost exceeds this small amount that is being requested. Our geography and our economic independence or interdependence mandates some degree of cooperation across the island and across our adjacent communities. AIPC is doing that effectively and efficiently. I think going forward, AIPC can do a better job of getting information in front of the town council. I've been to their offices a number of times and have been able to get this kind of information from them, but they can do a better job, we can do a better job, and get projects done that need to be done. So I would ask that you please continue to invest in our town in this highly effective and efficient way. Thank you.
Good. Mr. Wilson? Okay. How are
Good
you?
evening, honorable council people. My name's Dr. Kathleen Wilson, and I've been a resident of Portsmouth for 32 years. I've been on the planning board for 8 years, and I've been on the AIPC for at least 5 years. And I can say, because where I work, the Rhode Island Department of Transportation, AIPC is not a joke. It is a darn good planning group that has lawyers, that has civil engineers, that has ex-council people who keep regularly in touch with their people on their councils. They have knowledge of what's going on, and they have been very vocal and resourceful. We have been, as I said, I have been going to these meetings for 5 years, and it's like going to work, where we review plans, where we review what's going on, where we have a grant writer. I mean, this is somewhere where we can actually do something. And basically, we have been getting on our butts. We have been having quorums every time. And we have finally started revving up and getting the projects. And the next one that's going to go out this summer is the St. Mary's Pond. Well, finally, I'll be able to review something that Fuss & O'Neill, which is a very good, reputable consultant, and I will be able to review those plans to make sure that we get a good bang for our buck. AIPC, being that it's 3 communities, because we are not just one community, we are 3. But we can be one group that can make sure that all our concerns, that we can have clean water, that we can have a decent place to live. As I said, going to AIPC, being in on other planning groups, our group is professional, our group shows up, and we're finally we will be contributing a lot of projects on this island. And I think it's like $1.6 million. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council. Daniela Abbott, 52 Ladera Avenue. My father lives just down the hill from Melville School, right next to the ponds. I take my kids to that playground often. We play by that pond very often. Last summer, that pond was shut down 2 or 3 times because of toxic bacteria. Toxic bacteria that they say, don't let your dog near the water because it can kill them. Don't let your kids touch the water because it can cause neurological damage. And that's right next to our elementary school. That just goes to show that we have more work to do, like what AIPC is doing, not less work to do. And we need to stay a partner with them. I know you have a very tough budget in front of you this year, but AIPC just got a new executive director. I think it is our responsibility to stay a partner with AIPC, give them the funding, which is a drop in the bucket in the big picture of things, but it is a vote of confidence in the work that they're doing and a buy-in as a partner into a partnership that can do a lot of good for our town. They can do a lot of good work in terms of transportation with Island Waters. I'm here as an individual today, but I also sit on the Economic Development Committee in town and the Conservation Commission in town, and I know we could use their help on a lot of projects that could have tremendous benefits for our town. So I ask you today, please reinstate the $18,000 for AIPC. Thank you.
Richard Kalipsky, 79 Cromwell Drive. I'm the Director of Business Development for the town. In my association with AIPC, both as the Chairman of the Economic Development Committee and as Director of Business Development, indicates that they provide a unique perspective
and role in regional planning. I think it's evident what they provide to the town. I think it's important for the town to have a seat at the table within the AIPC. I think it's very important for you to maintain their funding. Thank you.
Mr. Roberts.
Peter Roberts, 80 Elmhurst Avenue. First, I'm going to start with, they talked about St. Mary's Pond and Sissons Pond, and he talked about storm runoff. There is no storm runoff in St. Mary's Pond. The water from Union Street runs down the street and goes further, and Jepson Lane is on a hill that's on the other side of where the homes are that runs off toward West Main Road. It doesn't run into that pond. So if there's anything in that pond, it would be from what people put on their lawns and stuff. There wouldn't be anything else. And if there was anything there, why don't we see what the test results have been for the last few years? If you're going to come in here and say you're doing this job, then you should have already gone, got a little bit of water, put it in a lab, and have them test it so you can come and tell us what's wrong. They're not doing that. And then somebody mentioned illicit hookups. If you remember, with the notice of violation, there was one illicit hookup. And in 1980-something, a professor at URI had her class for their last assignment for the year come to Island Park and Portsmouth Park and look for illicit hookups, and they found 3. The one they did find when they were doing the stuff was one of those 3. The other 2 had been repaired, all right? And I had brought up at that time with the notice of violation that all you got to do is run cameras to the storm drains and you will see everything that's in there. And if there's illicit hookups, you will see them. That wasn't done, all right? And all the tests that were done when all this stuff was going on, why aren't they up here today? So they could show us what they found and what they know. They haven't showed us a thing. They don't know anything, all right? They're talking about what they're going to do, but they haven't done anything, all right? And we know how many times we've been in here and listened to their finance stuff that they couldn't answer. Oh, I don't have that with me. No, no. They know what was going on. They know what's going on now. And what would a test in Island Park showed? They showed that the damage that was down there was from animals, the pollution they had. And when you stop to think about it, Island Park, what puts out the strongest stuff there? Seagulls. That's what it's all from. It's not from humans, okay? And do they have any of that? Did we hear any facts about that? No, we didn't hear anything about that. They have shown us nothing. They're coming in and asking for our money when we can't even give money to our library. No, they don't deserve any of our money, and they haven't done anything that I would approve of. They haven't done anything with my tax money that I want. So please, don't give them anything.
Mr. McDade.
John McDade, 65 Gormley Avenue. Thank you, Mr. President, members of the council. I'm here to support putting that $18,000 for the AIPC back in the budget. And I recognize, Mr. President, the concerns that you have specifically and that other members of the council have about transparency. But I think it would be, and I fully understand needing to hold people accountable and make sure that that transparency is there. But I would hate to see us make a mistake and cut off funding at a time that is really critical when important things are going to be happening. Just to pick up on one of the threads that Ms. McNally mentioned. In July, Sean O'Rourke, the state's new resilience director, is going to come back with a statewide resilience plan. That is going to require things of every town. And it's going to be very important for a regional organization to be in place because, you know, sea level rise and coastal erosion does not respect town boundaries. We are going to need an organization like the AIPC in place and partnering with us to help us with anything that comes out of that statewide resilience plan. It's important for Portsmouth to be in the same, to have skin in the game with Newport and Middletown to show that Aquidneck Island is working together on these issues. And I would urge you, Mr. President, please, let's not make a mistake at this point in time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Evening, Dave.
Mr. President, Council, Dave McLaughlin, 3 Haskell Avenue, Newport, Rhode Island. I'm the Executive Director of Clean Ocean Access, and I'm also expressing my support that you reinstate the funding. To try to address a few of the comments and perspectives that were shared tonight, I think one of the things that we've got to realize and also appreciate the support that you've provided to the Aquidneck Island Planning Commission and for general support is that's really provided the fuel and the ability to write the grants that they've won. So, that's an expense that happens in one particular year, and then you get the rewards for it in the years that come afterwards. So I think that you can look back on what the money's been used for in perhaps the last year or two, and that's really been to secure some really impactful grants. Another thing to think about, because I can appreciate that there are a lot of good organizations on Aquidneck Island. As Mr. Allett pointed out, the Green Infrastructure Coalition is made up of over 40 different organizations, predominantly nonprofits, but also participation from government agencies. And what you have here tonight is a line item to support one of those nonprofit organizations. So there are a lot of nonprofits that are part of the environmental sector that are not currently on your list. So I think you do have a really good opportunity to focus and channel funding to support one organization that's truly benefiting everyone's greater good. The other thing to point out is the recent work with illicit discharge and detection efforts. I was at a meeting earlier this month and I have seen the results, so I can tell you right now with the data that I've shared with you in the past, I can speak to my word that it does exist. The results are in. And really the good thing about the meeting that I participated in was sitting there with the Department of Environmental Management, as well as with participation from the Department of Transportation, and really thinking about, well, where do we go next with this, right? Like, how do we open up the waters of the Sakonnet River for shell fishing? And, I could see in the eyes of the people involved is that people are serious about this, and they look at the great work that's been done, and they see opportunity, and maybe the pace at which we open up the east side of the island for recreational fishing is something that could happen perhaps in 2 years as opposed to 3 years, and that's because of the work that's been done. So I think that the direction is pointing in the right direction, and there's good velocity. So hopefully this gives you a few more reasons to reinstate the funding. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Excuse me. How is it that you, member of Clean Ocean Access, has seen the IDDE report and this council has not?
That's a fair question.
And you've gone over it with DEM and this council has not.
All right.
And can you tell me how many illicit discharge detections they found?
So two questions. The Aquidneck Island Planning Commission hosts essentially a monthly meeting at their facility on John Clark Road, where members from all of the organizations, including the town of Portsmouth, are part of that meeting. So that's available with advance notice.
And this report has been done. So that, actually, the illicit discharge detection was done, what was it, a year ago?
The work's been done in the past months.
No, it's been done it's been done at least a year.
I would defer to Gary to provide that specific information, but what I would share in terms of what I saw was in the meeting in early part of this month, Fuss & O'Neill, who was the contractor, shared the results. It was in a PowerPoint presentation, so I think that turning that into a formal report and disseminating it is probably a logical next step. But to your specific question, why wasn't the council invited? I think it's just the timing. I think that once
that wasn't why wasn't the council invited. It was why haven't we seen the report?
Right. I haven't physically seen a report. What I've seen is a PowerPoint presentation for approximately 40 minutes that shared all the results.
How many illicit discharges were there?
I'm going to defer to Gary on that specific piece of information. There were some that were reported at some of the pipes off of the eastern side of the street here.
Right.
But as far as the compliance of doing the work, what I got out of it was that the right work was done.
Right.
So I'm not going to share with you a number I don't have.
It's the same work that was done before. It's my understanding. And as far as
Gary, you want to come up to the podium, and we're not going to go too much further with this discussion to illicit discharge detections and specific work, because we're here to do a budget.
Mr. President, we are going on and on and on with, I'm hearing it over and over and over again. So if I can't comment, but they can,
Mr.
I
Crosby,
don't
do you
think
want to
that's
answer the
fair.
question?
Sure, I attended the same meetings that Dave is talking about and saw the same data. The work that was done by Fuss and O'Neill for illicit discharge detection consisted of television camera work in, I want to say, 16 pipes. The illicit discharge detection work that we have been doing for years out in Island Park, we have not been, there are a series of pipes in Island Park. There is a series of outfalls in Island Park that consist of a single catch basin and a pipe going out to the shore.
You're preaching to the choir, right?
Yes, I know, I'm preaching to the choir. So there was, the methodology that we have been using in the past consisted of doing water sampling at
the pipes,
at nodes, at the ends of the pipes, but also upstream at nodes up to the pipes and so forth. So the pipes that Fuss and O'Neill have been working on were pipes that I have never seen flowing. There has never been an opportunity for us to take samples of water from those outfall pipes.
I guess, in order to save time, like Mr. Hamilton said, I guess the question was real simple. How many illicit tie-ins did you find?
We found 2 tie-ins and a number of collapsed pipes that allow contaminated groundwater to get into the pipes.
Okay. And those, we knew about those?
No, we didn't know about those because we have never run television cameras down those pipes. And that was the point of this testing that was done with.
Okay.
David, thank you.
And the other.
You can come forward, and Ms. Bader will finish up her point. Go ahead.
Well, the other point that Dave McLaughlin made about opening up shell fishing, we're never going to do that as long as Fall River is dumping millions of gallons into the bay.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Zia Eftekar, live on Lawrence Drive, and my wife is also a business operator and owner in Portsmouth. So clearly you have a very difficult, an unenviable job of deciding among all these terrific and meaningful and important tasks what can be funded and what we cannot fund it. I wish we had all the money that you needed so you could do all of it. Now, I'm not here as under any kind of an organizational capacity, nor am I a scientist who can talk about some of the issues that are very important. So I'm really here as a resident of Portsmouth. And as I look at the last 20 plus years that we've lived in this community, all of the things that attracted us not only to come here, but also to stay here, are the things that town of Portsmouth offers. Great schools, terrific environment all around, safe neighborhoods, and clearly the issues related to environmental impact of our living here next to the other communities is a part of what's going to maintain and retain that for us. And I also look at it truthfully, everything that enhances our town has a direct and immediate financial relationship to the value of whatever we invest here, whether it's our lives that we invest here or our properties and our home. So at least from my perspective as a resident, this is as much of a quality of life issue as anything else. So as such, and I have to be honest with you, my familiarity with this organization is very recent. And I started looking into what they're doing, and clearly some of the issues that you brought up with regard to transparency, reporting, being very, very clear into the actions they're taking, are all extremely valid and have to be addressed. But in the terms of being able to utilize them as a partner, especially in relationship with the other 2 communities that are our neighbors on this island, it seems to me to be a very wise investment whether you look at it from a return on the expenditures that we undertake or safeguarding the future generation. It is a good investment to make. And it's really our job as citizens and you as our reps to really make sure that they deliver on what we pay them. And as a citizen, I guarantee you that I'll stand here next budget review when this issue comes up as to whether or not they have delivered that. So I urge you to continue funding, but I also urge you to hold them to the fire. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Iftikhar.
Terry Cortfrin, 46 Mary Lane, and I am not a scientist, but I am here advocating support for AIPC. I do believe in the regional concept, and it's a good value for our dollars. I know you guys have hard decisions, like everybody has said, but I'm advocating my support. I think we have to collectively look at issues like stormwater, and perhaps they are a vehicle in the future for us to look at Burma Road and other infrastructure projects that don't just affect Portsmouth, but affect Middletown as well. And I see the AIPC as a perfect vehicle that could potentially assist us as we look to issues with Burma Road and the infrastructure, the water system there. So I would encourage your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry.
Mr. President, members of the council, Bob Andrews, Thayer Drive. I am the chairman of the Tank Farm Advisory Committee. Back in February, our advisory committee recommended to the council that we proceed forward with Tank Farms 1 and 2 on a potential document of public sale with the federal government. The town council approved that document of public sale. We went to the federal government and we're awaiting the answers from them. All I've heard for the last 3 nights is our budget constraints. Tank Farms 1 and 2 represent 189 acres of just pure, beautiful land that can bring tax dollars to our community. So in our move, on March 20th, Terry Cortfrin and I requested a meeting of the contingent of the AIPC from Portsmouth. Along with us was Rich Talipsky and our chairman of the planning committee, Gary Crosby. We went to them because we know if we have the potential to sell Tank Farms 1 and 2, we've got to put together a marketing plan. This town doesn't have the money to put together a marketing plan. So we asked for the help of the AIPC. There are several things. The AIPC did come out with the West Side Master Plan in 2005. We had a good meeting with everyone. We asked them if there was a potential to dust off that plan. The other issue that is of grave concern to us is Burma Road. The federal government has basically stated that they're not too interested in keeping Burma Road as part of the federal government. If we do not have Burma Road, our potential for Tank Farms 1 and 2 are pretty slim, along with Stringham Road. So with that, I ask you for your help because we need this. We need to go forward. We need to get Tank Farms 1 and 2 on the tax rolls as soon as we can. Possibly the AIPC can help us with grant money. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Andrews.
Tom Grieve, 110 Thayer Drive. I think everybody here has sort of missed the point tonight. AIPC is not a joint municipal planning commission or a public body. That was decided by the Rhode Island Attorney General. They are a private organization. They're now lumped in with all the myriad of other private organizations out there, many of whom do exemplary work and provide value to Portsmouth. This includes the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, Save the Bay, Aquidneck Land Trust, Lucy's Hearth, or even the PCC, who tonight and every council meeting records the meetings at great financial benefit to Portsmouth. By the way, the return on that investment for each one of those is infinite because they provide these services without asking you for the money. I'm sorry. These organizations, just like AIPC, pursue their own or their donors' objectives. But like these, AIPC is a private organization that would never rise to the level of being considered civic support in a budget like ours. By giving taxpayer money to AIPC, you would beg the question, why give taxpayer money to AIPC and not these other worthy organizations? The reason the council should not give to these private organizations is that they are private. They have their own private objectives. Anyone who values their services or their objectives can donate to them, but it is not appropriate for the town council to mandate that every resident donate by providing taxpayer money to any of these private organizations. Nevertheless, remember, AIPC or any of those private organizations can still come to the chambers here and ask for money for a specific project that they believe benefits Portsmouth. If the council agrees, that project can be funded. But then the council and the taxpayers will know exactly what the money is going for and can put constraints on it. To blindly give taxpayer money to a private organization like AIPC to do whatever they want with it, to me, seems unconscionable. Thank you.
Mr. Grieve, I'm going to ask you to stay there for a second because you've made this argument before, as well as Mrs. Grieve and others. Along that vein, and the Portsmouth Public Library is a private organization that we give $500,000 to. That we don't have any control over what they do with it, correct?
I'm not sure that control part is correct.
We don't have any control over what the library does with their money.
It is still under civic support.
It is.
And it is a benefit directly to Portsmouth. It is not spread over several. And my guess is that they actually will tell you their financials and give you reports if you ask for them. This has been a continuing problem with AIPC for years, and that is why they went private. They petitioned the Attorney General to go private so that they didn't have to give, and Mr. Ardito stood right here and told you that, so that they did not have to give the, I think he said, million pieces of paper on his desk to the public. That's not an organization that the taxpayers should be funding.
Okay.
I can go into the whole thing. Right, all right.
I think we've beaten that horse enough.
I agree. I think there are things like the senior center, the library that are concentrated in Portsmouth for Portsmouth people. And quite frankly, I believe your support of the library is mandated by the state government. I don't think you can not fund it. This is certainly not one that the state is saying you have to fund.
John and/or Allison, would you like to field a couple questions?
Take my jacket off, getting a little hot.
That's fine. Other than the upcoming construction, what grant applications, without going into detail, if you're applying for them, are you soon to get, soon to apply for, or have gotten but haven't announced yet? That would benefit the town of Portsmouth.
I would say that, the grant game is highly competitive. We are considering applying for a small Department of Health grant to supporting our civic outreach related to the island waters and water quality issues. That's only $5,000. Other grants that we've applied for grants to NOAA and have been turned down. So I mean, a prolific hitter in baseball hits about 300. I would say as a nonprofit organization, if you could do that well in the grant game, you're worthy of the Hall of Fame. We don't have any new awards. We do have some upcoming applications that we need to write and submit to some private foundations, but we're not going to hear, first of all, we have to do the submission probably in June 1. I think we have 1 or 2 coming up, but we're not going to hear back on the results of those until November, December. And that's kind of where we are right now. So there are upcoming applications, but nothing that we're going to have a definitive response on before the end of the year.
So what does, we've covered the past of what's currently happening, what will happen in what has happened, what's going to happen in the next 12 months, and in September of 19. What does the $18,000 get us in the future?
Well, what it will get you in the future is that we will continue to work along with the state office of our state resilience officer and try and get more money for stormwater management and for water quality initiatives to build on the work that we already have. Sometimes it's easier to get grants if you can already give proof of success and application of that sort of money. So that sort of environmental work will go forward. We're probably coming around to another round of the state transportation improvement plan that we'll be monitoring and submitting to. I don't believe the state's really released whether or not that's going to be an annual.
It's a 10-year plan.
It's a 10-year plan, but they take submissions. The last couple of years, they've taken submissions every year. We will continue to work on our transportation avenues. We will continue to work on our civic engagement. We will continue to look to the future and anticipate funding opportunities, funding models, smart technologies for transportation and municipal engagement. Our work on broadband has not exactly been running and keeping a pace, so we need to revisit that and see what's available to the municipalities. Sustainable energy. There's been a number of requests for another round of Solarize Aquidneck. We would also look to see if there were opportunities for further business solar sustainable programs, such as the statewide PACE program. We're also going to be looking at an opportunity for business recycling. I know a number of businesses have recycled, then they turn away from recycling because they're private carters. It's highly expensive. So that's another sustainable avenue that we're going to go down. And then, to be fair to John, we have to give him an opportunity to get his feet wet and take a look at other funding opportunities that are out there in the federal government.
You want to address anything after your first 3 weeks here, John?
I wouldn't dare, actually, Mr. President. I don't want to talk out of turn if I am not certain of what I'm telling you, so I think Allison covered it pretty well.
Obviously, you were hired out of a group of people. You successfully convinced the board that you're the person for the job. What is your general strategic vision for the AIPC?
Well, I think that's something that when I formulate it, and I'm starting to look at that, I want to do it obviously in conjunction and in consultation with the 3 towns, the 3 municipalities on the island, and our board members who represent you. I have to, learn a lot more about what the key and priority issues are for each town and for the island as a whole. But I feel that I've had a lot of experience working with regional organizations and being successful doing that. And I hope to bring that here, and I think that's why they hired me. I can bring folks together, bring communities together around common issues. So I think Allison mentioned some of the issues that just lend themselves to regionalism: transportation planning, coastal resiliency, wastewater, a host of others that don't respect political or geographic boundaries. So those are the areas we are most likely to be focusing on. And also on the slides, we had some of our initial priority items for 2018. But again, I'm a firm believer that those have to be developed in conjunction with our communities. They're not something the AIPC goes off, staff goes off and comes up with our work plan. We have to do it in consultation with our board who represent our town councils. So I guess my strategy is to work with them to do exactly that, to develop that work plan, that strategic vision.
Mr. Kessin?
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Tonight in front of me is a very
a much changed organization in the sense that it doesn't appear to be confrontational. I tried not to be confrontational when I asked for the financial reports, but since AIPC went private, none of those reports continued to come. That bothers me. Second thing is, and I don't know whether you can answer this or it's the lady who stands behind you, Allison, that can answer this. These construction projects that are happening this year, can you name the landowners or co-landowners for where the projects are landing?
Well, I certainly can't answer the second one. I don't know if Allison, you are able to at all, but I would just say that I'll start with the first one, which is, again, as I said earlier, I pledged to work with the councils on new, but I think that gives us a chance to develop a new relationship. If there have been shortcomings in what we provided you in the past, we can correct that, and I pledge to do that. We plan to adhere to the highest degree of transparency that we can and are allowed to under law. So, I can just say I'm going to try to fix anything that has not been correct in the past.
And hence the private organization that you are, under law, is what bothers me. Okay? I think because of the fact that that AIPC went private, we did not continue to have the financials flow. Whether they're required to be requested about, whether I have to get down and get you, sitting here, I've got enough work to do. As probably do you, but a natural occurrence has to happen. I'm done with that question. I'm satisfied with your answer. The next answer is, can you give me the landowners or co-landowners of where these construction sites are?
I personally cannot. I don't know if Gary or anybody.
Sure, I can. There are two construction sites that consist of in one case, 3 catch basins and 2 large vegetative wivets, they're called. Wet vegetated, what are they?
Treatment system.
Wet vegetated treatment systems. The large ponds are on Aquidneck Land Trust land and Newport Water land, and the 3 catch basins in the one case are on Carriage Drive on the town right-of-way, and in the other case there are 3 catch basins that contribute to another pond, which is again on Newport Water, and either Newport Water or Aquidneck Land Trust owned land, and the catch basins are on Young Drive in Oakland Farms. The Aquidneck, Fuss and O'Neill have been in touch with the property managers for Oakland Farms and will be busy making an arrangement to maintain the catch basins. We will take on the responsibility of maintaining the catch basins, which we already do anyway. So that's the owners of the property for the construction sites.
So none of those are Portsmouth pieces of property?
Well, the catch basins, the Carriage Drive catch basins are Portsmouth property, but otherwise your answer is no.
Oakland Farms is private.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
But the specific question is who owns the properties.
All right, Mr. President, we have a long budget to get through.
I have my 2 questions answered. I'm good.
You're good. Mr. Gleason, anything?
Yes. Again, I go back to supporting the preliminary budget at the dollar amount that's presented here tonight, and adding AIPC to our long list for potential donations, should we be able to find the money. The whole private thing, the last person that we voted on was Mr. Katzman, and I stated here there was no offense to him, but I looked at it as if I was appointing him to a group similar to the Land Trust, We do not appoint people to private concerns, so to speak. I was going to ask the question, how many people are affected by those projects at St. Mary's, but it doesn't look like there's individuals per se. It's not like you're putting these projects in people's backyards, other than if you consider that somewhere down the road on Carriage Drive. The illicit discharge, you know, I'm sorry you had to go through that dissertation, because I think part of that problem is our own in town, that we don't know whether we are in trouble with what the findings are, because I think that should be addressed by the town planner to the council, you know, and maybe it was premature because he is just getting that information. The one item that still is open, I know there's a big influence of Bike Newport on, you know, working with AIPC, and the citizens of Portsmouth have approved a path through the Melville campgrounds that is supposed to become part of the TIPS process. I still don't have this warm feeling that that plan that we approved is what the plan AIPC and Bike Newport would like to see happen.
Well,
I'm hoping we're still on the same page there.
Oh, I can address that, actually.
Yep.
The state has, in addition to, I guess in the last 18 months or so, asked Mr. Crosby to keep me honest on that, but when the state has undertaken this initiative for a long-range transportation plan, as well as incorporating into that a bicycle master plan. So I have provided, and I'm in contact with the consultants that the state has hired to perform that bicycle master plan, and I ensured that the Melville, or what I refer to as the Melville bypass work that was concluded in 2015 is made available and included in that, made available to that plan as they develop that plan by statewide planning.
Thank you.
So that it's not, so that money, which was a significant amount of money, that investment will continue on and inform that plan as well.
Right. Just two other comments. One other comment, you know, while I like to see something done at the Melville Pond, you know, it is not a drinking source, and I think that's why it's on the back burner. Obviously, we have that algae bloom. You know, I used to fish at a pond beside Raytheon, but a lot of the Navy land is polluted. And
there's a campground right next to those ponds.
Well, the Navy has to be responsible as well, you know. But it's neither here nor there. It's just a comment.
Right. And just so we're all aware, it's not shocking because it's happened in the last 10 or 15 years.
I was going to say, it's been doing
It's
that
unfortunate, but it continues to do it.
But lastly, just as a suggestion, if need be, you know, $18,000 in this budget is small money, but it's all cumulative of the, you know, the people that are asking for money besides yourself. Perhaps we could consider the $36,000 in 2020 budget. We've owed you money in the past because of some of the decisions that were made or lack of decisions, and we had to kind of catch up on your funding. And potentially, I just throw that out as something we could do. You know.
So to Mr. Gleason's point, and those of you who haven't been keeping score like I've been keeping score, we're now at $78,100 in requests.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to amend the motion to approve the provisional budget as it stands and put back the $18,000 for the AIPC into the planning budget.
We already have a motion on the floor.
I know, I'm making an amendment to that motion.
Okay.
Is there a second, and where are you going to get it from?
Is there a second to my motion?
That's the first thing that has to happen. Now, where would you like to get it from?
Where would you sleep tonight?
I told you this gets goofy after 9 o'clock.
I said that there is room in the road construction budget. There's also $50,000 that we have assigned to take care of a budget deficit that I opposed originally because we could have done our original motion, which was to make it paid from any surplus in the budget, and so there are two sources I've identified right there.
Okay.
And there's also the contingency.
That doesn't, but that doesn't.
So I'm making that motion, and I move the question.
Fine. All those in favor of the amendment of putting in the $18,000, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Nay.
Nay.
Those approve of the main question, which is to set the planning budget, excuse me while I go back to it, at $323,669. And as Mr. Gleason mentioned, and Ms. Pedro mentioned, we are still trying to go through the budget, and as I said, I have my list here of $78,100 to look at. So all those in favor of the main motion, which is to set the planning budget at $323,669.
Provisionally.
Provisionally. I think that was already in the motion.
That was in the motion.
Yeah.
I think I did.
Yes.
That was in the motion.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
I'm making a symbolic gesture to vote against that.
6-1. All right, so let's roll down for a moment and get to the rest of it. Building inspection. Any questions on the building inspection budget, which is $330,998? The only adjustment is you added more money for contract services?
The electrical inspector.
And the assistant building is a step, I'm assuming?
That's a step and a time raise.
Okay.
Inspector will be a contractor. Yes.
Henry retired.
He replaced Henry, who retired. Henry
So-
was doing it for next to
Can we just-
nothing. You can't get it at that
I
rate.
can't hear. Can we just wait a second?
Sure, sorry.
That's okay. I just want to let everybody clear.
Going into third.
The previous electrical inspector, Henry, retired. He really never raised his rates, and we just couldn't get somebody that would do it as cheap as he did. So that's the reason why we have the increase.
Wait a minute, which line?
The
That's
contract services.
Contract services.
Oh, okay.
And underneath operations there.
Okay, I got you. So I was going to ask, so this is a particular person, but did we go, I guess you don't, I don't know, do we go out to bid for services?
We put a advertisement out for somebody that would come in and do electrical inspections. I don't remember how many we had. The cheapest was Henry's son, but he backed out, and I don't remember the name of the current electrical inspector, but he's worked out pretty well. They essentially went from $20 an inspection to $30 an inspection, I think. I believe that's what happened.
So we're thinking he's going to do 1,000 inspections this year? That's just my quick math. Is that what he does every year? Give or take?
I'd have to talk to Gareth, but this is the figure that we've agreed to.
Yeah, I'm looking back at the actuals, and it looks like in 15 and 16, yeah, $20.
It goes up and down. I mean, in 17, we had 20,000.
Yep. Which was 1,000 inspections.
Yeah.
Or 1,001,
Exactly.
technically, if you only did $20 an inspection. Okay. Any further questions on zoning? If not, do I have a motion to provisionally approve the zoning budget at...
330.
Building inspection, excuse me,
$330,998, so moved.
provisionally.
Provisionally.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Excuse me. Next, we have the planning board proper, preliminary
Planning board
increase.
in Leon.
Yep, there's Leon's increase in salary and a little bit more in postage. Well, doubling postage, essentially. Do I have a motion to provisionally approve the planning board budget at $32,052?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
May I ask a question after the vote?
Absolutely. You could ask a question before the vote.
Yeah, it was pretty hard. There's no money needed by any contracted services for the plans for the planning board? As we produce the plan? That's all going to be taken care of in
For the
Gary's...
comp plan?
Yeah, the comp plan.
That's all neat, that's
That's
in
in-
Gary's
That's
budget.
in planning,
That's in Gary's.
Gary's budget.
Okay.
That's yeah. That's the other 10 grand we have to find.
Good luck with that.
Motion to provisionally approve the economic development budget at $31,000. Rich is still here, so I can't say, money well spent. Real cheap guy.
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Parks and Recreation, our new director, who is righting the ship, and from my understanding, had a very productive vacation week.
Yeah, we'll report on that next council meeting.
Fantastic. Recreation budget, which includes the beach, $131,667.
Motion to provisionally approve for $131,667.
Is there a second for discussion? Because I hear a question coming from my left.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm looking at the electricity line, 42 adopted and proposed 1975, but it says 0% change.
It's, I've got it circled
getting
here
that.
as well. It's a formula error.
Okay, but that's
But it
due
went
to
up.
the Brown House
That's due to the Brown House.
coming
It's a full-year
online.
operation on the Brown
Okay.
House.
Actually having somebody working in it now.
It says and beach, I guess there's some kind of electricity at the beach.
There's the beach house, the bathhouse at the
Bathhouse.
Sandy Point.
That's got
And that's been-
electricity?
That's been moved and fixed, right? The electricity in the roof? Have we done that at Sandy Point? Yeah.
At the beach house?
And you had to move the electricity to fix the roof, didn't you? Yeah.
Okay.
Any further questions? All those in
And
favor?
these are LED?
That I don't know.
The Brown House? The Brown House is all, it was all LEDs.
Well, yeah, I know, but we
The
doubled
Brown
the
House
beach.
is efficient. I can't
But we
say
doubled the
that.
beach cost on the electricity too, and I didn't see a note here for LED lights.
Well, does that go underneath the street lighting? LEDs?
I wouldn't
Oh,
think so,
okay.
it's a beach, right?
Okay.
No, both of these are
Well,
Brown House.
there's one right down at the bottom of the hill. I don't know if that's a street light or if that's that's our light, okay. Okay. Motion is to provisionally approve at $131,667.
So moved.
No, the motion was already made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Glen Park, a slight increase for our friends at Glen Park for grounds and maintenance.
What's going on with that?
That is contract services. We used to get our way dirt cheap. Grace used to do all the cleaning down there after a weekend.
Oh, because Grace quit.
Well, not quit. Grace
Oh,
is,
yeah.
so it's contract services now. Is the folks at Melville doing it? Or is it's contracted, so, okay. So that's contract services to clean the bathrooms down there.
Motion to approve, tentatively approve,
Provisionally approved.
provisionally approve for $8,100.
Thank you, sir.
Second.
All
It's
those in
getting
favor?
late.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Melville Park at 11, provisionally is 11,500, which is flat from last year. The motion to provisionally approve.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Civic support, we've already done. Schools, we've already done.
Capital. Going with capital.
So that's what's, I had the thing flipped over. I ran out of space on my little piece. Debt service.
Debt service, okay.
Cheat sheet on debt service, that's on page 59.
Debt service currently is set at, is it page, yes, 56, Paul.
I got an error.
The
in
full
spreadsheet.
debt service is listed out in 59. The total amount of debt service rises from last year's $2,470,115 to $2,904,034, which is the police station bond. I'm on page 56, Liz.
56.
I'm just going with the bottom line number, not each individual
Help me.
item. The expenditure summary on 56.
Okay, we're down here, got it. All right.
So this is just the overall debt service line,
Debt service line.
which is now $2,904,034. Fung, do you have what the number will be next year roughly? Rich, one or the other?
About
$300,000 left, roughly? Okay. Less than what it is this year, assuming we don't bond anything else in the next year. It'll drop to 2.6-ish. Just for the record. There's really not much we can do to adjust this number, so does anybody want to make
No,
a
I
motion
know.
to provisionally approve the debt service line item at $2,904,034?
So moved.
So we're approving the debt service line?
Just the debt service line item, that's correct.
So,
Hold on.
wait a minute. Why? What's the difference between that number and the number on page 59?
59 or 62?
62.
Let's get to the bottom line.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You got the,
Yes,
you got schools and
I
everything else in
see.
there. So the bottom line,
62.
FY19 is 209,
Got it. I'm sorry.
345.
I got it.
0345.
That's why.
Okay, that's
Wrong
the one you're
page.
looking at too?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's fine.
You see that, Fung? It's under FY19, on page 62, it's $2,904,345, and up in the debt service,
That looks like a typo.
They're different numbers.
it's
No.
off by $301, 300 and, yeah,
Yeah.
$311. Thank you.
There's a typo. There was a zero put between the 4 and the 3, it looks like, and
So which one's the right number?
So,
Is it in the debt service, or is it in the total at the bottom? I'm going to guess it's the total at the bottom.
it's the total at the bottom.
So we need to
That's the right
change that
one?
line item to $2,904,345.
345.
So now my number goes to $78,411. I'm a running tally here.
for,
Wait a minute. Hold on.
So this number doesn't match page 62.
That is correct.
But the 62 is the right number.
62 is the right number. It's a typo.
Okay.
The formula underneath that, Fung, is correct in 62.
So we have to change
We have to add $311 to that.
to the total municipal
Debt service.
2610.
The 2904.
I got that, but if that changes, then everything else changes,
By
doesn't it?
$311.
Right.
Right, but that would be the same thing if we go back and give the library money, so we'll fix that, but we need to fix this one now. We'll figure out where to pull it from later.
Right.
Once we get to the bottom, we'll
Okay.
figure out where to get the money from, and then we'll do it slowly
So
so
you
Funk
put
can
that
make
on
the
your
puts and
list?
takes. I do. I put $311.
Okay.
Mr. Aguirre was nice enough to do the math for me.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
So how do we get a number that's generated via accounting wrong on two separate sheets for the same?
Typo.
No, it's got to be a report that's printed. It can't be a typo, right? You're
It's
telling me you're hand making every one of these pages?
Yes.
Yeah.
As they go
It's
through,
gotta be a
as they go
formula.
through the pages in an Excel spreadsheet, they do the puts and the takes as they go along.
No, that we have a
And they-
chart, we have a chart of accounts, right? When you take a chart of accounts, you extract into an Excel, and it produces the reports you want.
Formulas, yeah.
You see that report in the debt service, the expenditure summary page that you're seeing here, this is manually updated.
So when they sit down with the police chief
The
and he gives his
summary
budget,
pages,
they come back in and say, you can't have this, we were going to move this, and the Excel spreadsheet changes as they go. So there's a typo in here.
I understand, but I don't think we're on an Excel spreadsheet. I'm telling you, I thought we were on a chart of accounts, and we exported to an Excel that produced this workbook, which is a
the debt-
subset of the chart of accounts.
The debt service is an export. The budget working document is an Excel spreadsheet that was typoed.
So we're not using the chart of accounts, is what you're telling me.
No, we're using the
what
chart of
happened-
accounts to export the debt service that you have on page 62 But what was put into the working document as the budget in Excel was a typo.
What normally happened, what should have happened, I mean, I don't want to explain Excel, but the cell in that, the formula in that cell was overwritten at some point during the revision of the budget. Like I said, there's 19 additions. We obviously must have typed that figure in. That overwrites the formula, it pulls it off of this sheet. I don't know why we would have done it, but that's obviously what we did, because you can see that we added a 0 between the 4 and the 3.
So we just need to correct that line item.
Correct.
And provisionally set the debt service budget at $2,904,345.
Correct.
That number is not going to change. We cannot affect that number in this budget. So do we have a motion to do that?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Back to the other side of the page. Other. Okay, I'm going to go out on a limb here. What's our others? Transfer to the septic loan program is down to $53,871.
All right, where are you?
I'm on page 56, still same page.
Oh.
That one section there.
Yep. We're just
You know what? I'm going to do a timeout. Can we jump into enterprise funds and the Mariner House revenue, so we can let Kate
Probably should have
and
done that
Mrs.
about
Chase
4 hours
go.
ago.
Can we jump down to enterprise funds real quick? Is that okay with everybody?
All right, motion to move up the enterprise funds to this.
We're not really moving it up too much, right?
No, it isn't, you're right. All right.
It's just one item, so we're
Okay.
good. Katie has promised to triple our income from the Manor House this year, which is great. It's going to solve a lot of these issues.
What page is the?
We are on page 68, Paul, for the enterprise fund, specifically for the Glen Manor House, which... Okay, so the total revenue line for the Manor House is expected to come in at $625,000. The expenses for the Manor House are expected to be $243,056, with a capital improvement retention specifically for the Manor House of $95,486, with a net 75% of net revenues coming to the town of $286,458. I think I've covered everything that needs to be covered.
Correct.
Currently, the capital improvement fund at the Manor House is $381,944. That sound right, Ms. Chase? Yes? Okay.
So we're approving...
We need to approve, first we'll approve the expenditures of $243,056
So moved
provisionally.
provisionally.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next, we're going to approve the retention of the $95,486 for their capital improvement fund, which is 25% of their net revenues,
So moved
provisionally.
provisionally.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next, overall expenditures of $338,542.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0, and we already approved the revenue last night.
Correct.
Yes.
Or Tuesday night,
Correct.
Wednesday night. What is tonight? Today's Wednesday. Thank you. Today is Wednesday. We're trying to push through this so that, somebody can make their confirmation tomorrow night.
Great job, Katie and Barbara.
Just in case you don't think I listened to you. Or was it first communion? Confirmation communion? Confirmation, okay. All right, so now, do we want to do the Glen Park equestrian funds?
While we're here.
Which, their annual lease is $18,000. Their revenue share would be $2,025, which is going to go right back into investments, so their total bottom line is $18,000 in that enterprise fund.
When do we expect to see some kind of,
Their five-year plan, I think it was year 4 or so,
Is it
it was something like that?
Maybe a couple more years.
couple more years? What has it been, 2 years?
One.
It's only been a year.
It's only been a year.
It just feels like two.
Just feels like 2.
Do we need to approve this at $18,000? I mean, this is just...
There's really nothing.
There's
nothing to approve, right?
We're not expending
Yeah.
anything.
Right, it's just there. Transfer station
You already approved this in December?
at $876,600? Okay.
So do we get rid of the guards?
Did we get rid of the security?
Security's dropped out? Because I don't see a number there for that.
I'll have to look at the spreadsheet that was, let me get back to you that.
Because I don't think that number's the number if we don't have security. I mean, if we're laying off the security, I'm okay with that.
I'm not, they're doing a nice job.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, they are doing a
if
good job.
that's what you're proposing, but if that's what it looks like you're proposing.
They're asking everybody as they come in the door what they got.
I know they are, quite rigorously, too.
Yes, absolutely.
Where is it?
Special other
Okay.
funds, we don't need to do.
It's all rolled into the solid waste disposal fee. Cost in there.
Is that also the,
Yeah, because that's
The
up from
director.
$699, right?
Yeah,
That
so
was
your-
that was just over $600,000.
Your
right?
director, and the guards are coming out of that fee, out of that expenditure.
okay, so they are in here?
Yes.
The guards and our recycling coordinator, right?
Correct.
All the other stuff down the bottom, pensions, so is just, I don't want to say anecdotal evidence, but it's just, we don't have to approve anything there, it's just information as to the budget.
Yeah, this is, there was a request that we start adding this to the budget. so-
Yep, and it's there.
So
Okay,
was this the revenue we already approved, right?
Yes.
we approved the revenue, we have to go back up and approve
The expenditures?
No,
the capital fund.
Correct, there's a few things in the summary of the expenditures that you still have to approve.
So we have to approve the $53,871 for the transfer, the portion of septic loan program. Did we, I'm sorry, we started to do that, but I jumped for Katie. Okay. So can I have a motion to provisionally approve the transfer of $53,871, the transfer to the septic loan program?
So moved provisionally.
Provisionally, thank you, sir. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. We have a, next one is town capital. We want to roll through what is on the capital plan, which is a different sheet. Manny, it's on the agenda, just go down to the bottom and it's a spreadsheet. That Paul will be the only one who can read because it's really small numbers. Unless you have a computer, make it big.
All right.
So,
Quick rundown.
Special revenue, did we do special revenue? We're going to
Not
do
yet,
that
we're
last.
working on that.
Yeah.
We're
So we'll do the capital now.
special, yeah. So this year, we're looking at doing half of the phone replacement, installing new locks here at Town Hall, which
these
we
would be-
badged access, right?
These would be some kind of badge access or swipe access at the north end of the building.
Embarking on a 5-year plan to replace old furniture here at Town Hall, which I started a few years back by getting you all new chairs donated by Raytheon.
And mine is Littleton.
No, not that one.
Oh, it's not the,
Those ones. Then we have, we're going to do an assessment on all of the town buildings. We're anticipating that cost to be $36,000 to hire a consultant.
Correct. This is the initiative that we're working on with Middletown, and the fee would be $36,000. This would be a condition, this would be a facility assessment of all town-side buildings, including Glen Manor House.
Okay. Manor House, Town Hall,
Everything.
Brown House, the barns.
Parks, buildings, barns, sheds,
Phelps
everything
House.
we got.
And this is to
Let us-
determine the condition of the
This is to
building.
determine the condition so that we can start working on, the next iteration of the capital improvement plan.
So can we have numbers for the half the phones?
25,000. It's in the, all right, so half the phones is 25,000, another 25,000 next year. Town hall locks, the security system is 5,862. 5-year plan, so it's 10,000 this year for the furniture. $36,000 for the town-wide facility assessment for the town buildings. Updated security
This is
for...
office security for canvassing. She's required to have files in a locked security cage, which we don't have. This will be the cost to put it in.
Okay. Playground safety, $5,000, that 5-bar?
No, that's going to be for the Island Park playground. Replace the wooden timbers with plastic borders.
Okay.
What was that?
Plastic borders instead of wood timbers around Island Park?
Right now, there's wooden timbers around Island Park playground, and replace them with plastic borders.
We're continuing to fix the rot here in town. We did half of it this year. We're doing another half next year.
This will be the second half, and painting of town hall.
And how much is that?
45,000 of the 76, so we did 31 last year, roughly.
16.5 to do the rot, and another...
Yeah, I'm just writing them down.
More replacement of town signs, another $6,000. Cupola replacement, repairs, replacement at $20,000. Glen Stables roof and truss repair of $46,999. Sure.
The cupolas, you've spent all your money on that, right? Is it 20,000 apiece, so you spent 40,000?
We've spent, yes. There are 2 cupolas that have been repaired, replaced. Those were the ones in worst condition.
Right.
We're hoping, the contractor hasn't given us a fee yet that I know of, but we think that we can get more repaired for the 20,000 than we had anticipated.
As opposed to replacement in kind?
The issue with replacement in kind is the cupolas are they're integral to the roof building.
Right.
We can't take them off.
Right. So what is the plan for the roof and truss repair? The maintenance man that works for Ian down there told me we're getting ready to strip all the asbestos shingles off and put on asphalt.
No, this is a...
That's not true, is it?
No. No, we're not doing that. And
Not for 46 grand, yeah.
I wouldn't think.
This is a roof and truss repair of the riding rink. The riding rink is actually quite dangerous at this point.
So the metal roof there?
Has to be fixed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Putting in a new furnace at Glen Farm in one of the barns, is that barn 1?
How much?
Okay. Okay.
Which one?
The 1910 building.
The one that has the 1910 in the stone?
Yep,
Okay.
I know which one.
New fuel pump for Prudence Island? Is that to bring us up to code, probably?
Correct.
They're in pretty bad shape.
Okay. Building 1920. Okay, what are we doing with that, Brian?
This is a fire escape.
Okay.
Required by code.
Okay.
That was a mystery. It's 1910. It's the same building.
Okay. Oh, another typo.
Really?
Backflows down at the Glen Park so we can avoid stuff going back into our water supply.
5,000.
Improvements down at Glen Park, so the 4-H area.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to be working with the Glen Park Committee to decide all that things going to be the bathroom and the kitchen room.
Okay.
That's 13,000.
And then the $30,000 for Mount Hope Park project. Now,
okay, this is...
we didn't get any funding from the DEM round of grants.
I mean, this, obviously, I was going to announce at the next council meeting. We just got the notice that we did not get the DEM funding for Mount Hope Park. I have a meeting with Chuck Allett next week. He believes that we are competitive for $300,000 in grants, but that would require a 10% match.
Okay.
So I'm requesting that we put $30,000 in the capital improvement so that we have if we get those grants, we have the 10% match. I'd hate to be able to get those grants for Mount Hope Park and then not be able to utilize it because we don't have the match.
And this would also could have been a match if the DEM grant, did the DEM grant require a match? Didn't, no. So they did not look favorably on us, and I have already reached out. I did forward it to Mr. Seveny and Mr. Edwards to say, why are we not being treated well? And a new server.
Correct. We need a new server. It's been evaluated not only by JKS, but by the school department. This is fairly critical.
So we're looking at a total capital improvement budget of $346,423, plus the $729,150 that was originally for the school department that they are now, which has changed and is now $604,150.
All right, so that's zeroed out.
Yeah, it's zero, we don't have to.
Yep, it's been zeroed out. I'm just going right down the line here. So we need a provisional approval of the capital improvement budget. All these capital improvements are being done with cash. There is no borrowing for any of these, correct?
That's correct.
Of $346,423.
So moved.
Okay, I got a question.
Okay. Hang on a second. Liz, can you just say second instead of...
Second.
Thank you. That'll make it more official. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Kessler.
So, I think there's a deficiency here. We're going to do a contingency plan for the Mount Hope project. We don't have a solution for Cogshall School. So the mothballing of Cogshall School, if I used the number that was used for Elmhurst, which was north of 50,000. What do we do when they walk away and winter comes? Do we just heat the building, or we mothball the building?
Well, we would winterize it if that were to happen, but right now we have 3 organizations interested in moving in.
Just making sure we got it covered, because if we ever had to heat it versus mothballing it, I didn't know what the number was worth. Thank you.
Will there be an official bid going out so we don't preclude options?
Right now, we want to give them the tour, but we're working on the RFP process.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Any other questions on the capital?
I was wondering if we needed to put in anything for some of the safety and items that aren't funded at all. The senior center sprinkler system, for example, I know we were going out for a grant, but do we need matching funds?
We're going out for a CDBG grant for that.
Do we need matching funds?
We wouldn't need matching grant, I don't believe, for CDBG.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, and then some of the fire and police requirements that aren't being funded at all.
Well, remember, this is a full capital plan for 5 years, so they're funded in out years as well.
I understand, but there were so many cuts done.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the fireboat replacement program we're trying to work on federal funding, but we moved that out a year. So everything that has been previously approved is listed, but it is a 5-year plan. It goes, I mean, if it's not here this year, it is going to be in the out years. What we try to do as a staff, working since August, is prioritize what is it that we have to do now. You see there's a number of things there for the Glen Farms. Well, some of those things we're obligated to do in a contract that we have with the concessionaire, which will help her become more profitable, which will help us start bringing in revenue.
I guess I have a procedural question, Mr. President. If it's not on your list that you're creating tonight, does that mean it cannot be considered to be added?
If you wanted to add something to the list, it would have changed the tax levy.
No, I'm just saying you're keeping a running list of things that we might consider in
Yes.
the future. And so if it's not on that running list, is it something we cannot consider adding to the budget?
No, anything could be added until the final budget is approved on June 25th.
So that list is not an exclusive list of things
No.
that could be added? Okay, thank you.
No, if come the town meeting we'll have a meeting to review it back on
the
14th, and then we'll have the town meeting at either the middle school or here for public comment again. And then at any of those junctures, it could be, the budget could be amended.
With things beyond your list?
Things beyond my list, yes. So, a motion and a second to provisionally approve the capital improvement at 346-423. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Enterprise funds, we are done with. Special revenues and other funds, so we got to go through a few of those other items up top here. So let me just get out of there. go over
Page.
here. We're still on page 56. We have the contingency line. It is currently at $50,000. We have OPEB, money to OPEB for $25,000. The $50,000 going to pay down the 2013, 12-13 fund balances, and the fund balance direct deposits of $20,251 earmarked just to go into that. I believe that is all we have left. Am I following that along correctly, Tom?
You have that correct.
Okay. So let's start with, so these 4 areas are the areas where we have some discretionary movement in order to fund the current $78,411. So what I would first like to do is take the contingency down to $49,689. Did I do that math right?
You're subtracting the $311.
$311, and add that to the debt service line.
300, yeah, because we need to fix that.
And then fix that debt service line. Did we reapprove it? Did we approved it at 345?
Yes, you did.
Okay. So we need a motion,
All right, I'll make that motion to take the
311 out right now.
311 out of the contingency and put it back into the debt service line where it belongs, provisionally.
Provisionally. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Now, on my list, and I will give you my thoughts on the lists. Although I love all the people on Prudence Island, at some point, the Prudence Island Volunteer Fire Department has to live up to that middle thing and be a volunteer fire department. So that would be lowest on my list of the requests. The library, the comp plan is a must-do. I think we should move the $10,000 from the contingency and then make that line item now $39,689.
But can you just read them all and
Sure.
and give us the numbers? what
So
was the
the library request was 10,000, I'm going to round them up to 100, 10,100. It was 10,098. So I'm going to round them up to $10,100 extra.
PI? All right, and the PI fire department?
It was $20,000 to pay for a deputy
That's right.
chief.
I remember now.
We gave $20,000, there's $20,000 in there for the
Yep,
deputy chief that he turned into
Yep, I remember
a
that.
officer in charge
Yep,
program.
yep, yep.
The harbor master is $17,000. The AIPC would be $18,000. The New England County Mental Health would be $3,000. And a comp plan is $10,000. That brings us to a grand total of $78,100.
Not, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yep.
Okay.
7 was just the $311. That was my only other one I had on there.
seventh
So it was 10,100, 20, 10, 17, 18, and what else?
3.
3, that's right. Okay. All right.
Community mental health. The one that needs to be done is the comp plan. We need to find the $10,000 in the comp plan. I believe I have a solution for the harbor, which would be, if we have a surplus, we earmark $17,000 to go into that fund, the replacement fund.
Surplus from new moorings?
17,000?
That's going to go in that revenue line anyways. So if...
It's not accounted for.
Well, it's not accounted for until it actually happens. They are saying they're going to put 28 moorings in.
28 more. It's going to be about, I think, $8,000 we estimate with how.
Right, so
you're telling me-
we're going to pretend that doesn't happen, and that's just going to be extra revenue that comes in that can flow into that account anyways. If we've budgeted expenses for the harbor master, I have to go back in and look at it, at
So you're thinking
$83,468.
there's going to be a surplus
wild
on this
guess, but
budget?
it's pretty close.
That's not going to be a surplus, first of all.
The question is where the funds come.
No. The revenue for the harbor master, which is $101,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will now come in at $109,000. That money can flow into the reserve fund because it's going to be extra money that's not currently budgeted in our budget.
Oh, take it out of the revenue.
It's going to be excess revenue in the harbor master revenues, because it's not currently budgeted. We're still only budgeted at $101,000. $100,000 for moorings and $1,000 for fines. So we can make a motion that any surplus revenue goes into, we don't have to give a dollar number, because it could be $7,099, it could be $9,000, depending on.
What's the number you're using for the Harbor Commission?
Harbor revenue or the harbor expenditures?
The fund itself is left over, 17,000?
17,320.
It's 17,3, yes. Thank you.
17,320?
Yeah.
That's the difference between the $101,000 revenue and the
Yes,
current
and
expenditures.
83,680, yes.
So that was put into essentially the general fund to pay other expenses.
17,320.
So we think this total is 78,731?
Huh?
Yeah,
Where'd you get that number
where are you
from?
going with that?
Well, I went 20, I went 10,100 for the library.
It's 78,100.
He's just focusing on the harbor master right now. He wants to, I'm confused too. You want to, you want to,
These were your totals for all 6 items.
No.
that's not what he's doing.
I rounded down. I did 17,000. I didn't do 17,320 for the harbor master. I just did a flat 17. So if you want to make it 320, that's fine. But
That's 78,420.
if there's excess revenue, if the 28 moorings come to fruition this summer or this spring, whatever, theoretically, they may be paying those in May, which would be this year's revenue and wouldn't exist next year. So,
He's excited.
No, I'm not excited. But you corrected my vision. You're absolutely right.
so.
They would have to pay it again next.
They will have to pay it again next
But not
next year.
not until next
But if they
March,
put these
which would be
moorings
this
in,
fiscal year's budget.
Very good.
so that excess will go into, so the excess will be growing by that $8,000 this year's budget that we're finishing up. So we're only halfway to getting to 17 normal a year.
So we correct the revenue line.
I don't think we, well, we can change the revenue line and then change, if we change the revenue line, be conservative and say $6,000, just in case whatever it is, and make it $106,000, and then put that $6,000 into the boat replacement reserve. And then we're getting.
I mean $5,000.
Six.
When it's 101 right now. Oh, I see.
I'm not changing the fund.
Because the fines, yeah, I
Okay.
get it.
So we change the revenue line to 106. You following along with this, Fung? Underneath the harbor master.
I got it here.
We update the revenue line to 106. We change the boat replacement fund addition by that $6,000. They're also going to get the $6,000, whatever the number is, hopefully in May, when they start putting the moorings in this year. It's not ideal, but it's more than zero. It's $12,000 instead of 15. We're getting there.
12,000
It also
instead of
does,
17,320.
and where that revenue is coming from does not affect the levy. So the levy stays the same, the budget changes. The levy
You'll
stays the
have to
same.
increase the budget by 6,000 revenue and expenditure.
By 6,000.
By 6,000.
Right, when we provisionally approve the bottom line budgets.
Yeah.
And then going forward, we take any, you'll remember to take any surplus and put it towards the boat.
We'll
set that aside.
Any extra surplus that comes in underneath that revenue line item goes to the fund balance of the replacement fund.
Yeah, over and above the expenditures for the harbor master.
Over and above the revenue. We have to pay for over and above expenditures.
Yeah.
All right?
So we'll need to,
So we need to go back and provisionally approve the harbor master budget,
correct. So that
which is
one-
underneath the police. All right? So we're going to go back.
Page 41.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
We
Harbor
can do
master.
that? Re-provisionally improve?
Yes.
That was the 41 was the expenditure.
Yeah, no,
it's both.
41 is the expenditure.
Okay.
We have to go into revenues, which is...
So that expenditure line item is going to go to $89,680. Because and that's going to change the reserve for boat line from 0 to 6,000.
Wait a minute.
Like the Red Sox.
Hey, you're starting to lose me.
Okay,
We're on page 41, under reserve for boat, we're going to
Yeah.
put in $6,000 there under proposed FY 2019.
Oh,
Okay?
you're going to put,
We're going to put in $6,000.
yeah, it's going to be, and it's
And then
reserved,
that will-
there's reserved for both.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's going to change the bottom line to $89,680.
89, okay, so
And I'm not
I
going to
will,
try and do what the percentage turns out to be.
I will make a
obviously have
motion to change to add $6,000 to the reserve for boat under the harbor master expenditure on page 41, and also to change the total to $89,680
Provisionally.
provisionally.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-1. Now we go back up to revenues at the top.
The reason I'm voting against that is we have a decision from September 22nd, 2014. We should have never taken this money out of this account.
Well, that's true,
I'm just stating why I went against it.
but we're
That's fine.
doing the best we can right now.
Right now. And if something miraculously happens in the next 6 months or 6 weeks and more money becomes available, we can make that change again.
All right, I want to make another motion that going forward, we put any surplus that comes from revenues and expenditures from the harbor master account towards the reserve for boat.
Any excess revenue from the harbor
Any
master.
excess revenue from the harbor master account.
So any below expenditures and above revenues will go into the harbor master reserve for boats.
I would second that one.
Okay. Everybody understands where we're going with that one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. And that,
Now,
next we got to go up to revenues.
Page 22.
That's what
Thank
I'm
you.
looking
That's where I'm
for.
trying to find it. Underneath harbor master mooring fees, we are going to change that line from $100,000 to $106,000. So I can have a motion to provisionally approve the harbor master mooring fees to $106,000.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. We now have to change our revenue line item, total revenue, from $63,247,183 to $63,253,183 provisionally. Is that the only place I have to change that from?
Wait a minute.
On page, I'm sorry, page 25.
25.
Yeah.
Just one question, John, do we not have to also, on the harbor master, change the total at the bottom from 101,000 to 107,000? We added it at
Sure.
the warrant fees.
You want to make that?
Sure. I would like to make that provisional motion that we change the total under the harbor master revenue from 101,000 to $106,000.
107.
107.
107,000.
Okay. Is there a second for that?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Now, provisionally approve the revenue line item.
On page 23 now, the department revenues, you'll want to change that line.
Change that from 2.6,
Wait a minute.
page 23 at the bottom?
20, that's what I thought.
We didn't approve that, did we?
Yes, we did.
I didn't have a
No.
vote on that last
No.
night, Mr. President.
So we just approved the
So
bottom
we went
line.
right to the final, okay.
We went right to the bottom line,
All right.
wherever that page is.
That's
25.
25.
25.
So we need a motion to provisionally approve the total revenue for the town in fiscal year 2019 at $63,253,183. Did I get that right, Phone? Thank you.
$263.
$63,253,183. So 63,253,183. Somebody go play those numbers.
So moved.
Second.
So that means we have to go and change.
Then we'll change the expenditures.
We haven't finalized the expenditures yet, so we don't have to do that.
Time out. The page still doesn't add up, so either in fees and licenses, you have to up that by $6,000, so the bottom line of
Yes,
this
so that's
total.
already, it's been updated in Funk's spreadsheet,
It's not updated in this document.
because you haven't written it in yet.
So it's fees and, it's going in fees and licenses.
Yes.
Right,
Yeah.
so that'll be 6,000 more.
So it'll be 2, 6, 3, 4, 705. Okay.
Okay, that somewhat takes care of the harbor master.
You didn't vote on it. You did the motion.
Sorry. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you all for keeping me honest. We're working on it, Tom. We'll try and get to that 17. But I just found you $6,000 you didn't think you were going to get this year. Maybe 8.
You're back to page 56.
Back to page 56, where we still have $10,000 to move into Gary's planning budget for the comp plan. So, do we want to take that from, as I stated, the 4 areas of discretionary expenditures? Not looking at salaries or anything like that. We're looking at OPEB, contingency, payback of the 2012-13, and what's the last one there? The fund balance.
Fund balance.
Of $20,251. I guess for me personally, the easiest way to take it out would be drop the fund balance to $10,251 and leave the contingency there as what it's stated for, a contingency.
50?
Well, $49,689. Because we took the 311 out already. We can, well, I'm not going to go back and change that vote. We could have taken that out of the fund balance too. The fund balance, $20,000, is a good faith effort, starting to lose it, that we're going to put in if we have a surplus anyways. If we don't have a surplus, then we're going to eat that up and pay for expenditures that we are over. So I would rather have a contingency line item that we have to pull from, as labeled as such, with roughly $50,000 in it.
Wait a minute. Mr. Rayner just said earlier that he had a meeting and the contingency line you could play with now.
We can play with it because we don't have to worry about dirt. But if another air conditioning unit goes or something like that, we don't have something set aside as a contingency.
Yeah, but 10,000, you still have 39,000.
Sure. With the 10,000 out of the fund balance, we still have 49,000.
Yeah, well.
Either way, if we don't spend either one of those line items, it goes
It goes
into
to the fund
it goes to the fund
balance
balance.
anyway, I know
So it really
that.
doesn't matter which one we pull it from. If we have a emergency that's over $39,000, Mr. Rain is going to come back and say, we're going to have to take some of the money out of the fund balance to pay for it. So it doesn't matter which line we take it from.
Okay, good.
You know what I mean?
Yep. So let's take it out of the contingency. I'll make a motion that we take the 10,000 out for the comp plan out of the contingency.
And reset the contingency
And
line
reset the-
currently at
at
$39,689.
Unless we fund something else.
Right.
Like me, I would like to fund the library, but let's get this out of the way first.
Let's go back up. Okay. So let's go back up to Gary's budget and reset that.
Page 48.
Oh, stop it, computer. 49, 50, 48, thank you. All right, so yes,
Can we vote on taking the 10,000 out of the expenditures?
we're working on all of that first.
Because I
Okay.
didn't know if you were...
Well, yeah, because I understand your
we're gonna-
thought, you
yep.
want to finish the motion before you go on to something else.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we're changing, we're going to provisionally change
Provisionally,
the
forgot that.
contingency line item to $39,689. That was Liz's motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Now we need to go into
Mr. President, sorry. Who was the second on that?
Dave Gleason.
Thank you.
I believe I heard you say I'll second Liz's motion. Right? Okay. All right.
What page is planning on?
Page 48. So now we're going to change the comprehensive plan line item from $10,000 to $20,000. A motion to do that provisionally.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. We now need to reset Gary's bottom line budget from $323,669 to $333,669 provisionally.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm still against it.
343,
320, 333.
333, that's right, it's
333, it's just 10.
Yep.
It went up to 20, but it's only $10,000 addition.
333, 669.
Okay. That takes care of comp plan. Now we have $31,100 left, which is the library, Newport County Mental Health, which they don't say, it's NCHMC,
It's Newport County
Mental Health Center? Community NCC, yeah, actually, I knew I'm missing a C in there someplace. NCCH, MH.
Wait, we didn't take care of the
Yes.
library, did we?
No, we haven't done anything with the library yet.
That's library, APC, and equipment.
I think the library would be thrilled with anything we give them. What if we round out the contingency down to $30,000 and give them $9,689?
So moved.
9,000 what?
$9,689. It doesn't get them 100%, but we're only off by $500.
Where are we getting the money from for this one?
We take the contingency down to $30,000 and apply $9,689 to the library. So a motion would be to take
Take down the
$9,000.
contingency to $30,000, sorry, $30,000.
Second.
And add, okay, so provisionally reset the contingency line at
Provisionally
$30,000.
reset the contingency line at $30,000.
Okay. Liz, and then Paul was the second. All of those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. And then we go under civic support expenditures, which is on page 53. And we changed the library, Portsmouth Library aid from, this is now, I gotta break out a calculator now, sorry. That's 504,900 plus 9,689, $514,589
So moved,
provisionally.
provisionally.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
So then total civic support goes...
Doesn't his state aid go up too?
No, state aid, yeah, maybe.
The 22%.
22% of that.
Oh, great. 22% of...
Well, we better
I
do the
know,
math.
I know, you're right.
Probably, because it wasn't an even 22.
You're right.
It was 22 points, yeah.
22.7.
So hang on, it was...
So 9,689 times 20, 22%?
I think that's what it was.
It was 22.7712 something or other. It was...
I went to 7.2.
Oh, my word.
Yeah.
Pi. 3.1.
Maybe Fun, yeah. Maybe Fun can do this for us.
2 times 5.
114,736 divided by 504,900. 22, yeah, 22.72%. I'll round up 7.3. So, the new number is 514, 589?
That's going to change.
Times .2273 is 116,960.
What I would recommend
Is leaving
Yeah,
that.
I get-
leaving it as it is,
Yeah.
because the state has already computed this.
And it's just a pass-through anyway, right?
is.
And they may or may not give it to
So it's not really
us.
in our budget,
332,
is it?
no.
No, it
No.
Plus-
goes straight to the library.
Yeah, it goes right to the library anyway.
689. So that would change provisionally the bottom line budget for the civic support to $750,021. Correct on that one, Tom?
750,
21. 750 flat, $21. 750021.
got it.
We have a motion to provisionally approve that.
Motion to do that.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. The library is done. $3,000 to help with mental health in town.
Can't be big IPC for 18, 21,000 more.
I've lost track.
Just those two things left.
Yep, no,
Well, those PI volunteers.
And
yeah, listen. I know. 10 years ago, the Prudence Island Volunteer Fire Department was a volunteer fire department. We've increased their expenditures to $168,000 to help fund, and we gave $20,000 last year for a deputy chief that wasn't used for a deputy chief. So I would like to give $20,000 to the Prudence Island Fire Department, but we are really getting tight now.
It was also a surprise to find that the volunteer fire department was in the PMEA, too.
No, that's
No,
the...
no, no.
Chief?
No.
No.
That's not the Prudence Island Fire Department, that's Glenn, Prudence Island Special
Glenn is
Services.
in PMEA.
Oh,
Yeah, he's always been.
Yes.
Police?
He
All
is a
right.
volunteer firefighter also.
I thought I was right when he said that, but,
Technically, you're right, Ike, okay.
all right. We got a volunteer fireman that's in the PMEA. Let me restate that one more time.
All right. Under under expenditure summary.
Page 56.
You don't need us to change any of the, Fung, you've corrected all in the expenditure summary, that's already taken care of, okay. So we really just have to do the expenditures bottom line that will change by the $6,000, the $6,000.
The bottom line is,
The bottom line will be now the same, $63,253,183, because we added the $6,000 to the harbor master.
63,250,
63,253,183. So we added the
63,253,183.
3,183. The $6,000 revenue is also an expenditure because it goes into
Right.
the balance, so we need to just balance that off on the bottom. Does anybody have any inkling of where you want to find $3,000 for, or if you want to find $3,000 for the community health, or $18,000 for AIPC? I would venture to guess that one is easier than the other.
I would recommend.
Well, we still have the school department here, but maybe we can turn this into a learning center, and maybe they're willing to give us the money.
I'd recommend we reconsider the mandatory 50,000 that came down in 2013 warrant.
I try.
And change it to 50,000 guaranteed this year only to 29,000 guaranteed this year only, and use the the remaining 21,000 to fund Newport County and the AIPC.
I second that motion.
I will definitely not be voting for this motion. We cannot pick one organization out of all the organizations on this island. Plus, Tiverton and Bristol have agencies as well. They all use Portsmouth, they're all Portsmouth, and it's discrimination. It's just discrimination. Plus, I've heard that this one time only, yeah, just exactly with the roads.
Well, the one time only,
And-
reducing the mandatory paying down the 2013 warrant.
I just think that if people want to fund them, plus they have insurance, That's the other thing. If people want to fund them, then go right ahead, but don't ask all the people of Portsmouth to do so.
Mr. President, I'd like to read from Mr. Lehane's letter. This year, we treated an increased number of Portsmouth residents and provided counseling services in the Portsmouth High School. After the recent intruder incident, we have additionally provided counseling services to several students that were personally affected by the recent death of another student. Specifically, close to 300 Portsmouth residents received mental health and/or substance abuse treatment provided by our agency. Additionally, 132 residents were provided with over 200 emergency psychiatric evaluations by our NMH licensed therapists, many at Newport Hospital's emergency department or after contacting our 24-hour crisis line. These evaluations assess whether a person is a danger to themselves or others, as well as provide access to needed behavioral health services. We also plan to provide a mental health first aid training of all Portsmouth educators and staff at your school department next professional training day in August as a community service. We have also provided this training to approximately 500 school department faculty throughout Newport County. So I believe that in light of recent events, that they certainly should be shown support as they are a regional service operation.
Mr. President? I'm not sure how many Portsmouth residents go to the Women's Resource Center or Child and Family Services or the Martin Luther King Center or the Maha Center.
But we do have these numbers.
Visiting nurses, and all those people that they're talking about do have insurance. A lot of them, most of the people that they treat have insurance. And, you know, the clientele is usually, and the other thing is the clientele usually has insurance that is supplied by the state. And, you know.
I guess I would agree with Ms. Pedro that we need to reevaluate how we consider these requests for civic support. Perhaps they are too closed, and perhaps we do need to do a more 3,000-foot view of the requests. However, given what we have before us today, I would suggest that we proceed with this very tiny support.
I'm inclined to pick 8, like we've mentioned 8, and just divide the 3,000 by 8.
Oh, gosh.
And give $375 to each one.
It is
Wow,
never
you did that
going
math
to
that
end.
quick?
It
What's
is
that?
never going
You did
to
the math
end.
that
I did it a minute ago.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't in my head.
I was just going to give you credit. That was pretty good. Wow.
I mean, I get it. I mean, I took a call from somebody from Martin Luther King, said, do you think that there's any money for us? We're bringing our van out to Portsmouth because there are places of Portsmouth that need food assistance, and they're bringing food with them, and people can do that. I said, well, call Mr. Rayner, and maybe he can find something in the budget. Thank you. Did she ever call? No. Okay. Well, anyways, I think it's a worthy cause, but I understand Ms. Pedro's point as well, that, you know.
It's never
this
going
others-
to end. There are
But I think it's a good
numerous
thing for us to.
agencies. They're all good agencies,
Yeah.
but they take
Listen,
insurance.
My
And-
first year here, which, God forbid, I'm the oldest one here in terms of length of the council.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah. Sorry, I was going to quote Monty Python, but I'm going to be nice. We gave $500 to Little League, soccer, football, community
That's
health.
right. That's another one. Yeah.
Everybody under the sun. I am inclined to say that we have some special needs for community mental health here on the island that I think is worthwhile for $3,000. I'm still on the fence with the AIPC, just because I'm not, as I stated earlier to Allison, that 7 minutes could have been given multiple times in the last 3 years and could have addressed a lot of things, in my mind.
Mr. President, although there have been many comments about lack of information to the town council, I believe that there has been no allegation about them not doing work that was necessary and that we would have otherwise required our taxpayers to fund. So, you know, while we might sit here and say, gosh, we wish we had more information, I guess that begs the question, what would we have done with that information? The more, I mean, we're not engineering experts. The more important question is...
Hey.
He's not acting.
Well, but
We actually have three engineers on the council.
I'm saying, I believe we have one engineer on the council, but
Three.
in any case, it's not.
Three, my dear,
In-
three.
And just because my business card says technical sales engineer, I'm not.
Mechanical,
And
electrical,
I'm-
civil.
And I will
That's what
soon
your
be married
degrees
to
were
one.
in college. All right, well, I guess I'm a psychologist then. So in any case,
It's too late
The-
to do anything.
Yeah.
the fact of the matter is that they did work that the town would have had to have our taxpayers pay for, because we were required by law to do it, and they did it. And there are no allegations that that's not true. So the question is, are we going to jeopardize their ability to apply for grants? Because right now, in the current grant environment, if you aren't asking for a regional plan, then you're not going to get funded. And basically, we're letting Newport and Middletown hang out to dry as well. We are not going to get a grant as Portsmouth. We will only get it as Aquidneck Island for a lot of grant applications. And to hold this up for $18,000 when you've seen that they're potentially doing so much more work that for grant applications in the upcoming year, we're just looking at this as a short-term gain, and we're really letting go a very long-term benefit to the town. And secondly, you know, the idea about somehow having a private organization that is not within our control. As you've pointed out, there are organizations, the library and the senior center in particular, where we do not have any control. And we give them far more money. I think it sends a terrible message to our community that we are not interested in clean drinking water to not fund $18,000.
I don't want people here to think we don't have clean drinking water.
We are trying
We
to
just
keep
spent
it that way.
multi-million dollars on a
$18,000
new-
is ridiculous not to give it to them.
Multi-million dollars on a new treatment system,
And
people.
it's not just the
So,
drinking water, it's the fact that we have a series of bodies of water in the town that every summer become a hazard to the people around them.
But-
that they just said they weren't going to take care of.
But, all right, okay.
St. Mary's and
St. Mary's
So,
is fine.
so let's round this up. First and foremost, and I'm not going to belabor this, I'm at this point in time, I'm still not comfortable with AIPC. So I'm going to guess that there's 3 or 4 votes. But it can be added, I still need proof. I agree that they've done work. The work that they're going to do is still going to happen in the town of Portsmouth for our drinking water, whether we give them the $18,000 or not.
But you're shutting off the tap of that money coming in, going
No, I'm
forward.
not.
You
Because
are,
they-
because you're
no,
not
I'm not.
going to have community support for a year.
Okay. They might not have community support in Middletown, they may not have community support in Newport either.
That is not my understanding at this point. There's a 2-year, Mr. Winthrop has indicated that there's a 2-year budgetary process where they have guaranteed the $18,000, as I believe he's informed you, and we have
No.
not.
That's not what he's informed me.
Well,
He's on the fence.
Newport sets their budget for 2 years. They already have the $18,000 in place for this year.
Okay. But they haven't released it yet. And they may not.
It's in their budget, but in
That's
any
fine.
case, a lot of the questions that have been raised have to do with things that don't affect the fundamental question, which is, are they saving our taxpayers' money? And I believe they are. And so the question is, are you going to require our taxpayers to do the work that's required under law to be done?
Again, so
The cameraman is shaking his head at me. That makes me worried.
they've done the work for the IDDE. She could not answer the question of what else is in the pipe.
She told you what is in the pipe in terms of application. She can't tell you for certain that
Those applications are not for Portsmouth.
they are for an island-wide initiatives, and so that doesn't make.
All right, let's
Move the question, please.
look, fine.
I'd like to just chime in. I think...
I just want to go home.
Well, give me my 2 minutes.
You have as many as you want.
No, I think I'm not 100% sold on the Aquidneck Island Planning Commission because of, well, don't say yes, I'm not done yet. Because they have had some issues in the past, but I think if the funding is there, I'd like to keep the option open, at least for further consideration. I don't think we're going to come to a resolution on this tonight, but I'd like to keep the option open. Knowing on the engineering side of what I do when I'm not here, I think there is opportunities that the town will be faced with on the stormwater side On the transportation side, there is long-term bike plans proposed for the island. Aquidneck Island Planning Commission can play a role in how these things get resolved. I know you want to shake your heads, that's fine, shake your head. But there are issues that the town will be faced with. And if we can get grants to offset stormwater mitigation, that's an opportunity. That's very expensive work. And yes, they've done some. The state is going to start a project on all of Aquidneck Island, Portsmouth, Middletown, and Newport, assessing all of the state infrastructure. If the state finds things that the municipality's connected into, they're coming back to the town and saying, you've got to fix this. So I think in the big picture, it may be worthy to keep these relationships open, because we are not going to be able to fund some of these stormwater projects without help. And it's a costly business. And maybe you don't agree with me, maybe you don't know it. This is what I do for a living. We will be faced with it at some point potentially down the road. There we go.
Correct.
Mr. Kessin?
There was a group that sued the state of Rhode Island, and that's why they're doing all the stormwater drains.
No, that's not true. It wasn't a group. It was the Department of Justice, Clean Water Act violation. That's
Okay.
why the state is doing what they're doing.
Right, and then they're now replacing the main going, or the stormwater drain going into Island Park from East Main Road. They just cut that pavement today. So, I mean, I'd like to see, I met a different organization today that hasn't been there. I'm still not comfortable with $18,000 though. There isn't enough changeover. I mean, you can change one person. I'm not sure it changes a whole organization.
I might disagree with that one, but, you know, the future will tell.
Correct.
I think there's room for this money, but I think it doesn't need to be made tonight on this decision.
I think that, I would like to see the $3,000 made tonight. Your motion is to change the fund balance pay down to from $50,000 to...
47.
Well, we're going to start with your motion, just the way it was. Down to 29. So that's been made and seconded. All those in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. And no vote?
No, I
You said
voted aye.
Okay, I didn't hear that part, okay. The fund balance to me just seems an easier place to pull $3,000 from, and leaving the $50,000, the CIP fund balance transfer at 50 right now. Well, it's just, at the end of the day, if there's money left over, it's going into the fund balance anyways.
That's true. But bond rating depends on the fund balance, not on this pay down.
No, well, I've
but
heard that the
20,000
fund balance doesn't matter. I mean, we've got $2 million missing, and it doesn't,
Because that's not in the fund balance
you know,
category.
it doesn't
That's not
affect
in the
our
fund
bond
balance.
rating or anything, so.
That's in the capital fund balance, it's not in the fund balance reserve.
Right.
So it's different.
Well,
But with a $63 million budget, the difference of $3,000 going into the fund balance, when we're talking about 17,251 and 20,251, is not a hill of beans when we're talking about a $10 million reserve. But putting that $50,000 towards, earmarking it towards paying down that debt over time would be helpful. That's just my 2 cents. Anybody else?
I'd rather wait to another meeting before we move further with any more changes myself.
For the $3,000?
Absolutely. 10 minutes of 11.
Yes, it is.
I'm used to staying up all night, so whatever you want to do.
I'm ready to roll, let's do
Party
this.
animal. All right. So, well,
Motion.
if nobody wants to make a motion on that,
I'll make a motion on that.
which would be to take $3,000 out of the fund balance line, change that to $17,251, and move it to civic support for the Newport County Community Health Center.
What page are we on?
Same page,
NCs.
56.
56 for the fund balance change, and then
53 for civic support.
I think this does.
So Sue said so moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
I will not be voting for this. This is discrimination. It's discrimination to the nth degree. And these organizations get insurance. Our library does not get insurance. You can't compare them to our library. You can't compare them to the senior center.
Let's just vote.
Let's vote. I move the question.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion of moving $3,000 from the fund balance expenditure line into the Newport County and civic support for Newport County Community Mental Health Center? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-3.
No offense meant to the Newport County Mental Health.
Okay. That will make us have to change the
So it now becomes 753021.
civic support becomes, excuse me?
753021.
753021. So I have a motion to...
Wait a minute, where?
With civic support. So that changes the bottom line.
So that
we just have
changes
to-
page 53.
so we have
Oh,
to ch-
53.
We have to provisionally approve the bottom line that we've already changed for the library, and now we're changing for the Newport County Community Mental Health Center,
Let's try to remember.
which would change that bottom line to be provisionally approved at $753,021. A motion to do so.
700,021.
753,021.
Second.
All those in favor of that? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So that is 5-2. The last motion of the evening is to set the overall expenditures at $63,253,183, which is just
wait a
the
minute.
addition. We haven't done the bottom line expenditures yet. That's just the addition of the $6,000. I think we've done everything else.
No, you didn't.
Special revenue and other funds.
That's what
I
we're
thought we
doing.
did all the revenues already last night.
So on page 56, the bottom line's going
The
to be...
special revenue and other funds, that's just informational. We don't have
56
to
is
approve
not
that.
right.
What do you mean 56 is not right?
Well, because you
Oh.
just,
Okay, sorry.
the civic
All
support.
right, so we have to change the,
20...
correct. All right, you got me.
Fund balance down to 17,251.
Yes. So the fund balance line goes to 17,251. The motion to provisionally approve that.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-2, which then changes the overall total municipal line.
Mr. President, I just want to change my vote to nay on that.
Okay.
Not that it matters.
Okay.
5-3, or 4-3.
It's still 62,531.
So now we have to go down to $63,253,183 for total revenue,
Still
total
the same.
expenditures.
Right.
It's still the same, but we haven't voted on that yet. Did we vote to change that earlier?
Yes, you did.
We did.
You added the mooring fees to it.
Okay.
So-
No, I added it to the revenue. Did we add it to the expenditures?
You added it to the revenue, and then we held off on the...
Right, so we have to add it to the expenditures. So the bottom line money we're going to spend theoretically, and it's budgeted to spend next year, is $63,253,183. We have to do the bottom line expenditures at this point. So I have a motion to provisionally approve the expenditures at $63,253,183.
So moved.
Is there- All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-2. We are now done
It's done.
with the provisional budget. It will be cleaned up tomorrow, the next day, and Fung, if you can email out and put the new one up on the website, please. Lisa, thank you for the OPEB thing.
So all we need is the
Thank you for the
pages that are
OPEB thing.
changed, right? Just,
I think we're just going to make a new copy for you.
Yeah.
you gotta make a whole, we don't have to, I don't need a whole new copy. There's the pages that are changed. There are not many pages that are changed.
We'll go through the change.
Yeah.
My book's
Mr.
all
Roberts.
mixed up with,
Peter Roberts, ADR.
right.
I just want to do a comparison of what the library is compared to the AICP, okay? The thing is, all our kids go to that library. All my kids have, my grandkids and everything else, and that is there for all the time for them to study and do other things. We have all kinds of activities there. We know what they do. There is no question to what they do. They are a credit to this community. When I talked earlier, I talked about what have we seen for results. Now, DEM is supposed to take care of our water and study it. Have we ever seen anything to them showing us that our drinking water is hurting us? Because I don't remember it.
Well, the EPA did Gary, if you want to try and fill in on this, but the EPA did a study years ago, and that's why they redid the plan. And I don't know the numbers, but...
They redid the plant because it was so old. But still, there's nothing wrong with our water, it's not hurting us. So they don't have to make a big issue of that. The biggest problem with the water is in Newport, because of where it all runs off down there. Where our ponds are and everything else, we don't get the runoff. They're using that to try to get the money off of us, but there was no reason for it. There's none whatsoever. And you talk about the storm drains, well, look at East Main Road. Some of those storm drains actually need to be worked. They need to be redone. But they have just put a concrete sidewalk on all of it that cost a fortune. And now to replace all that, they gotta break that all up and go down again and redo it. They are costing us a fortune. And they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, taking care of us. That all should have been taken care of before they put those sidewalks there. Because the sidewalks that were there were usable. There was nothing wrong with them. They do what they want to do, and they don't take care of the things they are. And there's been no proof of anything that we have been shown about any of this. And these people keep coming in and telling us what they're going to do and everything else, but they haven't shown us any proof that it has to be done. They haven't showed us anything.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts.
You're welcome.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes